Konoha is still kind. The rules this time are not bad. Konoha is indeed the largest village, and they are not small. Even their own village is treated equally. I am convinced by this alone. There are good and bad. Everyone discussed heatedly, and people from Shaoran village praised it more. After all, after reaching the third raid, everyone can have the Chunin qualification. In other words, every sweep is a very strict assessment. Those who have not passed the test will be eliminated at the slightest, and the most serious. It is death. Shao Ninja Village is not strong in the first place. If they met a strong ninja village team early, they would not have to fight at all, and under the current lottery mechanism, everyone at least has a chance. For Darren Village, it is also not a loss. Although the allocation of 2 ordinary genins by a genius will hinder the performance of the genius, ninja, but if this genius can bring the other 2 into the third lap. So, the probability of Omura becoming a Chunin will be greatly improved. Certainly. This does not only depend on individual ability, but also on the command and coordination ability of each team. Exam focus. It's totally different from what they do. Compared with ninjas, the nobles outside and some ninjas who are rich but unable to enter the inner court to watch are less able to see the hidden meaning of the rules. But, at this time, a voice sounded. I believe everyone can see it. Usually, the Chunin exam will be allocated according to the registered teams, but this test is not the case. What we value is not just personal ability. Genius ninjas usually lead teammates who are not strong, so the cooperation of the team depends on the command ability of him or his teammates. Kyochi's voice sounded in both the inner and outer courts. Everyone in the field was speechless for a while. This kind of thing. If they can't see it, they don't deserve to be leader Jonin. But they were just stunned for a while, and soon realized that Kyochi was not speaking for them, but for the gold masters outside. Those people can't understand. Inside the door to see the door, the layman to watch the fun. Originally, the people outside were still dull, and they didn't understand why the drawing of lots caused dissatisfaction among the genin, and there was no sound on the screen. I understand now. It turns out that there is such a way. Kyochi-kun really worked hard. Orochimaru looked inside and wanted to laugh. Viewing place. This guy Kyochi is really thoughtful. He even thought of the fact that the nobles outside can't understand the game. It is not easy to make money. If you think I'm working hard, you can help me out, or stop talking sarcastically. Kyochi turned off the radio and couldn't help complaining about Orochimaru. This guy stays around and beeps, and when he really needs to talk, he shuts up and pretends to be dumb. Simply, hee, my voice will scare those nobles, let's forget about it. Orochimaru waved his hand. But, meeting Kyochi's eyes, he sighed helplessly. Well, sitting here, I really have to help. His eyes sharpened. Scan the 5 crystal balls. On the crystal ball, the pictures of 4 of them are constantly changing. Orochimaru uses ninjutsu to control the picture, checks the situation of each place, and searches for those ninjas worthy of attention. Very well, wooden golem first. Kyochi let him lock on the picture of wooden golem, and began to explain the origin and strength of wooden golem to the nobles, but the nobles naturally couldn't understand. But that's okay. The second level vocabulary such as the flower in the lonely sky, and the body of a cat demon with both wisdom and courage is moved up. Although it is only genin, it instantly looks taller. I covered his face when he heard this. Although he didn't mind telling people who wooden golem was, the vocabulary seemed too vague, and it made him feel like he didn't know how to say it. A flower in a lone cloud. The others stifled laughter, including Yugura, with a faint smile on Kakuzu's mouth. Wooden golem didn't realize it. When she looked around, she already had a nickname of Second to Explosive Watch. Next moment, the camera turns. Yugura couldn't laugh because it was Kirigakir's turn. Ghost Lamp is the strongest genius. Ninja Sword's favorite prodigy. What the hell? From Wooden Golem, he just took the nickname of the second child, and directly roasted it on the fire at Kirigakir. The strongest genius? Ninja Knife's favorite prodigy? I can F***KU. 3 of the 7 ninja knives are on your side, and the other 3 are still despised and returned. Furthermore, 7 swordsmen were beaten so badly by Kyochi. Even if they are loved by ninja swords, what is there to be proud of? The corner of Yugura's mouth twitched, because the next moment, the picture is Mist Shinobi Ninja again. Terumi Mei. A dazzling flower in the mist. Yugura wanted to jump up and yell to stop him, but he had no choice but to cover his face and sigh like I because of the funny expressions of the others. Certainly. At this moment, I has come out of that weird feeling. Because he found out. Kirigakir was obviously worse, and 2 were placed on the list. No doubt. The people on the list are the focus of this Chunin exam, and the picture will be given to them later, and more information will be exposed. The next screen is Kirigakure again. Yagura couldn't bear it anymore. Master Tsunade, you Konohas are. Not very good, let's forget about the first two, this one. He was helpless and confused. Ghost Lantern Full Moon and Terumi Mei, he can understand that the information leak might be detected, but if they don't kill them, even he doesn't see any special strengths. Speaking of strength. Strong, but it's just like that at the moment, and it can't be compared with Ghost Lantern Full Moon and Terumi Mei. This is it. Tsunade pondered for a moment, thinking about how to answer, when he saw a line of comments flashing on the screen. Spirits in the Wind, Dancing Swallows, Sarutobi Asuma. Yagura Jonin, you saw it too. It was a misunderstanding. The picture was given simply because your team from Kirigakure happened to be here. Tsunade responded very quickly, and immediately opened his mouth to explain when he saw the text. Yagura was speechless. Kanda Kyochi. This is really ruthless, even punishing his own disciples. With such a nickname, Asuma will definitely hate him in the future. There are still many people on the list later, like Shisui is naturally included here. Kyochi racked his brains, and finally gave him the original nickname. Instant Shisui. This name is considered the most normal. At the back, Samui from Cloud Shinobi Village is also on the list. Iwagakure and Sanagakure are also on the list, and there are basically not many shinobi villages on the list. Naturally, Shaoran Village has no objection, in fact. Those villages on the list don't feel honored at all, and wish Kyochi could get this damn list down, but unfortunately it's impossible. Because next, Kyochi explained clearly. These ninjas are relatively powerful elites in the current Chunin exam, and more shots will be given to their teams in the next one. Please wait and see. Obviously. These few people are the coordinates for watching the game, so as to avoid finding candidates when switching cameras. Understanding is understanding. But if you pay attention, information about ninja abilities will be leaked. Unfortunately, they could not refute, because Kanda Kyochi, a ruthless person, threw all his two disciples up, so that everyone didn't know how to complain. In case the two behaved differently, they would make a fool of themselves in front of the Quan Nin interface. Can only say, this guy is really confident. Certainly. The same goes for everyone else. Seed players were eliminated in the first round, that would be hilarious. Ebizo sneaks out to check out the outfield. Good guy. The atmosphere is very warm. A group of nobles held fruits and snacks in their hands, as if watching a movie. Each of them had a great time, and the outside programs were more colorful than the inside. Konoha invited several dance bands. Although off stage now, Ebizo keenly sees the dancers in makeup off stage. It really makes money. He saw it in his eyes and admired it in his heart. Kanda Kyochi has grasped the psychology of these nobles and ordinary people in place. He is very clear. What kind of ninja confrontation, intelligence gathering? How do nobles know this? They only care about whether it looks good or not. This secondary 2 nickname is actually to let these people remember them, so that they won't lose sight of what to watch when they watch the exam later. It feels like. In the Ninja War, Sanin and even 5 Shadows were suddenly mixed in. Anyone who is stupid can recognize it. Ebizo watched silently, savoring Kyochi's money-making wisdom. After Luo Sha came to power, he was slowly removing the power of the older generation and eliminating the influence of the elders. This is why he and Chio plan to retire. Now, he found his future direction: make money. Study how to make money and make the village rich. So, he stayed outside and did not leave. What you see now is a bird's eye view of the entire examination room, and the signal that will be sent later will be the entrance of the examination room. The voice just fell. The flare exploded. There are always 20, with 5 teams at each entrance. At the moment when the fireworks exploded, some signs of ninjutsu appeared in the screen. Fog, water waves, flames and more. Only after entering the field, the teams have already started to confront each other. Orochimaru. Those on the list just now, if you see who is playing, cut out the screen immediately, and I will be in charge of explaining when the time comes. It is good. Orochimaru licked his lips. Next moment. He cut out Terumi Mei's. It was unfortunate that they ran into the Samui team from Cloud Shinobi Village. This is a seed-level duel. What you see is the Terumi Mei team and the Samui team. Cloud Shinobi has obviously researched the Mist Shinobi technique, and they are not in a hurry at all. They seem to have locked the escape route of the Terumi Mei team. This is Lava Style, Blood Succession Boundary Escape Technique. Lava Style. No matter whether it is inside or outside the field, there is a lot of noise at this time. Blood Inheritance Limit. This Terumi Mei actually mastered the blood succession technique. The eyes of everyone looking at Mist Shinobi suddenly changed. Terumi Mei's strength showed part. The value of this list has suddenly increased a lot. Yagura sighed softly. He knew it would be like this, but fortunately Terumi Mei still had an escape technique that she didn't use. Hope she doesn't use it, he sighed secretly. Is the blood inheritance limit? I narrowed his eyes. Kirigakure really has a lot of heritage, and it really shouldn't be underestimated. I hope Samui is not careless, if you calm down. Well, Samui led people to evacuate immediately. He was very decisive and very calm. If every cloud shinobi has such calm wisdom, it would be quite scary. Who are you mocking? I was furious. Reikage is obviously very attentive to the teaching of his subordinates. Samui's judgment is very correct. We can see that Terumi Mei is sighing with regret. It looks like she is very sorry to let this opponent go. What is Reikage teaching his subordinates very carefully? It's obviously a good word, but why doesn't it sound right? And this voice is unfamiliar but familiar. It should be disguised. I must recognize his original voice. I searched his stomach, thinking about the source of the sound. When I looked up, I saw Tsunade above. He remembered. What the hell? It must be Orochimaru, right? Can't go wrong. Nima's. No wonder it feels so wrong, Reikage taught. When Samuel was at school, he wasn't Reikage yet, and that's not about him but his daddy. He took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. These two people. Sing and make fun of yourself. But don't be angry, don't be impatient. His father's words drifted through his mind repeatedly, and after several deep breaths, he finally resisted the urge to break the glass and calmed down. Lord Reikage, calm down. It's nothing to be angry about. It's just a wave of chasing to force out the opponent's lava style. Samui did a good job. Ai's tone was calm. Yagura was a little surprised. Is this the Reikage in the information? Something is wrong. He was a little surprised, and then an alarm bell sounded in his heart. As Kyochi said above, if every Cloud Shinobi learns calm wisdom, then Cloud Shinobi will become very scary, because the unity within Cloud Shinobi far exceeds that of other ninja villages. Now even a quick-tempered person like 4th Reikage is starting to refrain. It's broken. In the future, you can no longer use the previous tactics to deal with Cloud Shinobi, and you must modify it slightly, otherwise you will definitely suffer a big loss. But he returned his attention to the screen, and couldn't help but complain. Can you Konoha give us some pictures of yourself? It can't all be ours, right? Yagura, pay attention to your tone of voice. Konoha has always done things fairly and justly. Tsunade narrowed his eyes. In normal times, this short winter melon named Yagura has already been beaten. But now, she has to pay attention to etiquette. So, Tsunade just tapped and a Katsuyu climbed up on her back. Give a bird's eye view. Yes, in fact, Kyochi and Orochimaru can clearly see the situation in the infield. Before Tsunade said, Orochimaru had already adjusted the screen for them. Next moment. 4 perspectives appear on the screen at the same time, all of which are Konoha's team. Shisui, Asuma, Shiranui Genma, and Yamashiro Aoba lead the team. They all shuttled through the woods at this time. Each of them was very fast, and seemed to have a strong purpose. Everyone thinks there is something wrong with Konoha, so I'll bring up the screen. I didn't show the screen for a simple reason. They didn't encounter the enemy at all. They scattered and fled as soon as they entered. Yagura hesitated for a moment, not daring to go any further. He felt that Tsunade's eyes were already very bad. But, excuse me, why do they seem to know where the enemy is? Zhongji raised his hand as a signal. You are Jonin, you should know about Konoha's investigative methods. You don't need to be reminded of this kind of thing, right? After Kyochi finished speaking, he added, Konoha didn't mean to be particularly targeted. If anyone thinks that I am targeting, then just treat it as I am targeting. The implication is, I just targeted it, so what can you do? Certainly. To be frank, it would be too embarrassing. Parasites, various ninjas, etc., are not banned like puppets. There are actually some in every village, but they may not be as powerful as Konoha. So, if you continue to question, it seems that you are not level. Everyone silently shut up. The 2 screens switched quickly, and there was a picture of some ninja teams being eliminated in the middle, most of which were ninja teams from Shaonin Village. But there is almost 1 team in Danin Village now. The scene changed to Wooden Golem and her 2 Cloud Shinobi teammates running wildly, and there seemed to be no ninjas in front of them. But the next moment, Wooden Golem jumped forward suddenly, his speed increased very quickly, and he reached a steep slope ahead in the blink of an eye. Then, lightning style go, under the dissipated lightning, 3 rock shinobi emerged from the ground. As expected of a flower in the cloud. What a fast speed. The audience may not know that their team has chased all the way from the entrance to here, and now they have finally caught up. Her physical skills are simply perfect, and her high flexibility allows her to perform incredible movements. Moreover, I don't know if you have noticed, but her nails are very sharp. Without the power of a tailed beast, but Wooden Golem modified his nails to make them sharper and sharper. In the unarmed state, it is also threatening to cooperate with his teammates' lightning-style ninjutsu. This is the rational use of the body, a face-to-face. Under the cover of his teammates' lightning style, Rock Shinobi's defensive ninjutsu fails, and then a claw passed. The necks of the two Rock Shinobi were painted, and although their nails were not scratched deeply, blood was still coming out. Wangtu saw that everyone stood up, looking extremely nervous. Fortunately, Wooden Golem has no weapons. If they were replaced with normal iron weapons, the two Rock Shinobi would probably die if they met each other just now. This guy, without the power of a tailed beast, it has such terrifying strength. By Wooden Golem, not to be underestimated, but only Rock Shinobi is worried. Everyone in the ninja village knows that in the previous war, Onoki stabbed Cloud Shinobi village in the back, killing third Raikage, so this time Cloud Shinobi took the Chunin exam, and it was aimed at Rock Shinobi. However, the number of Rock Shinobi is not small. As long as the Rock Shinobi are still alive and other people don't block the way of Cloud Shinobi village, basically it's not a big problem. Even if they meet Cloud Shinobi, they won't show such a bloody posture. After a few meetings, Wooden Golem had tortured the three of them to the point of severe injury, and the three of them sounded the signal flares one after another. Abstain. Wooden Golem is very dissatisfied. Her hand has already strangled a person's throat. As long as she is given another second, she can directly crush the other person's throat, but someone appears. By Wooden Golem, he has abstained, please let him go. HMPH, 3 trash. By Wooden Golem had to let go. She knew the identity of the person behind her. Now known as the Yellow Flash Namikaze Minato by many people in Ninja Village. The archenemy of Cloud Shinobi Village, in the previous wars, even I and Bai couldn't beat him in terms of speed. She didn't think she would be faster than the opponent. The Rock Shinobi team abstained, and all three were eliminated. There was a burst of exclamation from the outside world, occasionally mixed with some excited shouts. These nobles. The reason for spending money is to watch real ninja duels. Not to mention this exam, this battle alone made them feel extremely enjoyable and worth the price of admission. As for Iwagakure, no one cared about their feelings, but in fact, Huang too didn't feel angry, he just breathed a sigh of relief. In terms of personal strength, Rock Shinobi has no advantage at all. He said it in advance. Resolutely abstain when encountering an unbeatable one. It's no shame at all. Could it be more embarrassing than being captured and having to be redeemed by the village? With him and Lao Zi at the bottom, what are the genins afraid of? That's right. Huang too said so directly. Therefore, Rock Shinobi's abstention is not ambiguous at all, not only here, but also in other places. Cloud Shinobi is very brutal when it meets Rock Shinobi, chasing all the way without running away. There are breakages. But basically Cloud Shinobi beats Rock Shinobi. After all, Lightning style restrains Earth style, and Rock Shinobi is mostly biased. No need to fight. Master Raikage, according to the exam rules, if you fight like this, not many people will be promoted in the end, why bother? Hey. I don't compete for a spot in Cloud Shinobi Village. I'm here just to catch my breath this time. You guys, Rock Shinobi, just pray that you won't be caught by us. I sneered. Against Iwagakure, it's not just his thoughts, but everyone's thoughts. That's the power of Cloud Shinobi Village. All of them have the same goal and can be twisted together in every key battle. Ebizo is outside, only feeling that the world is very magical. He originally thought that Sanagakure might be the worst in this Chunin exam, but it turned out not to be. At present, with Cloud Shinobi Village chasing so frantically, the probability of Iwagakure being able to make it to the third round is very low. The key is, Cloud Shinobi Village is also problematic. They kept chasing, wasting a lot of time in the first round of development, looking for ninja tools and supplies. Later, in the second and third laps, Cloud Shinobi Village's physical strength and ninja tools could not keep up with others. At that time, the gap in strength between everyone will not be as big as it is now. Certainly. Cloud Shinobi Village is better than Rock Shinobi, not all of them play like that, like the Samuel team, who haven't appeared since the first meeting. Even Wooden Golem fell silent. There is no doubt that they are looking for supplies as much as possible. Fierce, but also stable. Cloud Shinobi Village has produced some good seedlings. The team leaders are at least elite jonin. With the rulebook in advance, everyone knows how to play the Chunin exam. But they found that although they have studied it well, they are still not as many as Konoha's team. From the beginning to the end, except for Kyochi who took the initiative to reveal the status of the 4 teams. The other Konoha teams unexpectedly only appeared once. This time, it was the Asuma team and the Samui team who met each other. After a hard fight, everyone found that they were not easy to deal with, so they all pulled away tacitly and did not fight again. That is, most of Konoha's team avoided the battle, and there were basically no collisions with other teams that appeared on the screen. If it was before, everyone might suspect that Konoha had obtained the information in advance, but now, no one is that stupid. Get information in advance? Item information may be obtained in advance, but how to predict the course of action of other ninja village teams? Totally impossible. Konoha was able to avoid these teams, obviously because of his intelligence. It is not surprising that one or two are like this. But all teams are like this. That's weird. Isn't it possible that Konoha used the transformation technique to disguise himself as someone from other ninja villages? I remember that Konoha has already mastered the Mist Shinobi technique. If you use Mist Shinobi to disguise yourself as a Mist Shinobi ninja, no one will know except the Mist Shinobi ninja. Suspect. Huang too spoke abruptly. In the Mist Shinobi art, Iwagakure impressed them the most. At that time, I didn't know how many times I scolded Kirigakure in my heart. Therefore, seeing Konoha's strange disappearance, he immediately thought of it. Yugura's mouth twitched. It's really possible. Although the examination room is large, there are so many ninjas, there is no reason why none of them showed up. The only explanation is that these people pretended to be ninjas from other ninja villages. But he thought for a while, and added, more than that, if just camouflage is not enough, their ability to collect intelligence is very strong, and they can basically determine the status of the surrounding teams. Everyone understood and nodded. If you encounter a strong team and make a disguise, you may be attacked instead. Tsunade looked silent. Konoha, of course, not idle. As they thought, most of the ninjas on their side pretended to be the ninja style of other ninja villages, and even completed some assassinations in the middle. Time passed quickly. It was less than a minute since the first sweep, and everyone rushed to the edge of the second circle, but the picture shows a relatively close-up perspective. Now, a flare exploded in the jungle. This is the center of the second circle. Everyone rushed over here quickly. From this perspective, no matter the infield or the outfield, you can clearly see the movements of each team in the forest. There really is no Konoha team. Rock Shinobi still has so many teams. My Rock Shinobi was eliminated by several teams. Where are there so many Rock Shinobi now? It must belong to Konoha. Huang too was speechless. He didn't count, but under the Mad Dog attack of Cloud Shinobi Village in the first lap, Iwagakure had only 3 or 4 teams left, and Cloud Shinobi Village also suffered a lot of losses. But at this time, there are not many ninja teams in Cloud Shinobi Village and Iwagakure. Subsequently, Yahiko thought of the Cloud Shinobi team, with excellent ninja equipment and excellent coordination in the first lap just now. Obviously, those teams are probably disguised by Konoha's ninjas who are good at lightning style and taijutsu. Konoha's genin has this ability, after all. The other villages don't know, but he knows it perfectly. Konoha's training is simply inappropriate. Every genin practiced desperately. The key is, those people are all self-conscious. What the hell? It would be outrageous for a village like this to survive honestly. Insidious. This thought flashed through everyone's mind. Even the team leader of Shinobi Village felt sympathetic at this time. At first they thought that Cloud Shinobi Village had gone crazy and killed their team. I get it now. Some people fish in troubled waters, many of which may not be done by Cloud Shinobi, but Cloud Shinobi has taken the blame. Knowing that Konoha's ninja might have made a disguise, Huang Tu and Yugura were fully prepared. As far as they know, Konoha taught this generation of genin's teacher named Kanda Kyochi. This guy is best at lurking and assassination. Certainly. Ninjas camouflage, lurking and other methods are all part of strength, but in the past, everyone didn't take this kind of stuff in the Chunin exam, and many genin states obviously didn't switch over. But Mist Ninja is not. Tsunade saw that the public opinion was fermenting, and Yugura sat there casually agreeing, and couldn't help sneering. Didn't everyone notice that the number of ninjas in Mist Shinobi is also not right? Quote. Now that it was the second sweep, all the ninjas were forced to start from the hiding place and rush towards the middle. There should not be many fools lurking and trying to fool Jonin's ears. But the number of Mist Shinobi ninjas is really too small. I fell silent. At first, he saw Cloud Shinobi doomed and eliminated others everywhere, and he felt a little happy in his heart, feeling that his subordinates lived up to his expectations. Watch now. How much water is in here? I'm afraid only the people of Konoha know. And at this time, these Cloud Shinobi teams were gradually exposed. On screen, Samuel rendezvous with by wooden golem. But the next moment, she directly took out the short sword and attacked the opponent. When there was a crisp sound, Wooden Golem took out a short sword to block it, jumped away, and then let out a chuckle. Hey, you are quite vigilant, and you still want to assassinate you, it seems. You have to be serious. The next moment, the fog filled the air. Terumi Mei. Samui recognized the identity of the voice. This is the guy who met her once, but unexpectedly he pretended to be Wooden Golem. Fortunately, Wooden Golem's movements were familiar to her. Otherwise, you are really cheated. The two teams clashed again on the edge of the second lap. At the same time, similar scenes are happening elsewhere. But Shisui was out of luck. His disguised Cloud Shinobi team was confronted by Wooden Golem on the edge of the second lap. The opponent didn't seem to see it through, but Shisui has a feeling. The other party should have seen their identities. Withdraw. Shisui didn't hesitate. Kodzuki Izumo and Gang ZT may be average in strength. Although they have improved during this period, they have not changed too much, but their advantage is that they follow orders. They do what Shisui says. After the words fell, the three of them turned their heads and left without dragging their feet. Chase. Wooden Golem raised his eyebrows, not understanding where he had exposed his flaws, which aroused the other party's vigilance. But she doesn't want to let her opponent go. Wooden Golem's survival to the present is not only due to her strength, but also her brain. This time is the best time to hunt. The team in front of me. It is a strong enemy. The scene at this time was also quickly given to their two teams. The Jonin inside basically knew it well, but the nobles outside were in a fog. Isn't it all a village? Why run? The battle is urgent. Both sides are chasing after each other. It seems that Wooden Golem doesn't think that the team in front of him is their partner, but other villages have changed their disguise. The flower in the lone cloud seems to have not only received the favor of the cat demon, but also obtained its keen insight. The voice just fell. In the picture, Wooden Golem has already caught up with a Cloud Shinobi. Ding. A sound. Kunai, held by Wooden Golem, bumped into a knife, and then she saw the other side's blade turned sideways strangely, followed by a dazzling light. Illusion. She backed away immediately. Shisui quickly received a knife, but unfortunately, the other two Cloud Shinobi were not strong, but they were not useless, and they quickly pumped Kuwu to help resist, and their cooperation was not bad. Uchiha Shisui. It's him. The speed is so fast. What kind of technique was that just now? Why did Wooden Golem suddenly retreat? He's only 6 years old. Everyone seemed to be expressing emotion and discussing, but their eyes kept on looking at Yagura. Kirigakure has played against Konoha a lot. They should know about Kyochi. This technique. They must know. Yagura was silent for a moment, and said, it should be a kind of light illusion, which can control the intensity of light. From the Wooden Golem, it should be blinded by the strong light. Not just illusions. This is an illusion in swordsmanship, it can be used without seals, and the subsequent swordsmanship is also very fast. If this sword is a chakra weapon, Wooden Golem has already been injured at this time. Thinking of this, I sighed in his heart. Kanda Kyochi is strong, and his disciples are ridiculously strong. This is only 6 years old. Wait until he becomes an adult and awakens Sharingan? Konoha. Generations have geniuses, at the same time. Even the secretly black Zetsu couldn't help but feel a little moved. Uchiha Shisui. To be frank, Shisui was so strong, he didn't expect it. Not to mention Sharingan, lightsaber, body flicker technique, and body skills, more than a lot of teenage genin kids, and his potential is far from being tapped. After a few years, his physical and mental strength will usher in a peak period of improvement. As long as the Sharingan can be awakened, Shisui's future is limitless. But because it is limitless, it made Black Zetsu hesitate. Such a precocious genius is too much influenced by Kyochi. He may have formed his own thinking, and it is extremely difficult to change his thinking. Even. It may seem that the brainwashing is successful, but in fact it is just a possibility of camouflage, and a wave of backstabbing. The current Madara simply cannot stand it. So, he thought about it, and gave up the idea of kidnapping Shisui. So good. Sometimes there is no way to become a target. At this time, the screen has been locked on Shisui's side. Everyone saw that his two teammates had run away and made some simple traps ahead. Seeing that there were no pursuers behind him, he was relieved. Outsiders can't understand, but inside I was surprised. These two genin. It looks like a drag bottle, but judging from the performance, their approach is the optimal solution on the battlefield. If Wooden Golem and the others continue to pursue them, although these traps may not kill the enemy, they can at least cause some trouble for the opponent, and they can complete the traps in a short time. It can be seen that the basic skills of being a ninja are very strong. And this, still just civilian ninjas. Konoha's next generation, what the hell are they all about? The Jonin from the other ninja villages looked at each other. In ninja combat, the powerful genius Jonin is important, but in a war, the ability of the bottom middle and genin is also crucial. Konoha's other teams still can't see it, but as far as these two are concerned, they can be called elite genin in Ninja Village, but they seem to be, randomly, assigned to the genius team in Konoha. Coincidence? Everyone began to pay attention to other Konoha teams. However, what they can see is only the screen, and they cannot be directly on the scene. Many details cannot be exhaustive, and it is also impossible for them to see who they want to see. Everyone must be curious about the strength of Konoha's other teams, right? Think. Shouts came from the outfield. Although there are nobles and ninjas sitting in the outfield, they are mainly nobles from the Land of Fire. There has been no ninja from Konoha before, and they thought Konoha had already pulled it like this. Turn out to be. Quan disguised himself as the appearance of other ninja villages, and fished in troubled waters in various teams. After the second lap, everyone was fighting, and the transformation technique was naturally difficult to maintain, so their true colors appeared one after another. At this time, the screen turned to Asuma's side. Although Asuma is very reluctant to admit it, but the identity of Hokage's son will make him more famous, such as the nobles of the Fire Nation. They probably don't know who Shisui really is. But they definitely know about Asuma. This is the son of third Hokage. What's the nickname mentioned earlier? Spirit in the Wind. I don't know how strong it is, the son of the third generation and the disciple of Kanda Kyochi, it should be good? The nobles just watched the fun. Ebizo, who was sitting in the outfield, couldn't help frowning. Nobility is nobility. So stupid. Everyone in the Chunin exam has top players. Individual strength is far less important than teamwork, while Asuma's two teammates are relatively average. Heel, Sparrow. Such names belong to civilians among civilians, who are orphans or whose parents are not ninjas. Unless the talent is good, otherwise the strength will not be too strong. If even this kind of player is not weak, then the strength of Konoha's next generation is simply unimaginable. Unfortunately, the opponents they met happened to be their Sanagakure ninjas, and Ebizo remembered that team was Yura and Otoke's team. These two are very strong. One is good at puppet jutsu and the other is good at wind-style ninjutsu. Although the third Sand is average in strength, Konoha's team is even worse. Can you win? For some reason, he was completely clueless, and even had the feeling that his team would lose with a high probability. Asuma, what should I do? Should I fight? Hit. Hey, how's your Mist Shinobi mastery going? It works. Very good, you will use the Mist Shinobi technique later, we will fight them in the fog, you two will be responsible for supporting, just help me attract their attention. Yes. After a brief exchange, Asuma waved his hand, and the speed of the three increased again. Yura, Otonakaze and Sand chase after each other. Although Asuma is strong, they don't think they are weak. Naturally, they will not let go of a team that has a chance to be eliminated, but after a few steps. Fog, retreat. Yura immediately sensed something was wrong. Most of this generation of genin have experienced wars, and there may be gaps in strength, but they are all very vigilant. He noticed that the fog in the woods began to increase, and he knew something was wrong. However, just as he was about to retreat, a gust of wind blew in from the side. Vacuum wave. Retreat. Yura immediately used the puppet to resist, but the powerful offensive nature of wind-style ninjutsu was not something the puppet could resist, and the wooden shield formed by the puppet's arm was instantly chopped to pieces. Next moment, Asuma burst out of the mist. High speed, they quickly avoided, however. The next moment, several kunai flew over from behind them, and they retreated quickly, but the next moment, flames burned along the wire to the kunai. The three kunai, together with the dragon fire technique, blocked their retreat. Dragon fire technique. This is the only ninjutsu that Sparrow has learned during this time. But at this time, the role played is not small. Not only was the three people's escape route blocked, but they were also divided into two parts, and the line of fire was still cutting to drive away Yinfeng and Sa, preventing them from approaching Yura. Next moment, Asuma stepped forward in an instant, with two kunai wind blades carrying vacuum waves in his hands, and Yura controlled the broken puppet to block it, but how could he stop it? He swung from side to side at the same time. The puppet's hand was cut off in an instant, and Yura immediately gave up the puppet and ran away. He had narrowly escaped kunai and vacuum sword, but there was still a long and narrow bloody mouth on his arm. How is it possible? I clearly avoided it, he couldn't believe it. But once again, he seemed to dodge, but was actually injured by the wind blade again, although his teammates had already broken the blockade of the dragonfire technique in the wire. But the two genins of Konoha also stepped forward to entangle them. Seeing that kunai came again, I abstain. He screamed, pulled out a flare and blew it. Asuma's kunai was only 2 centimeters away from his vitals, and he could even feel the invisible wind blade. Next moment, Asuma disappeared in an instant, jumping at his teammate. Silence. Ebizo had thought that Asuma's 2 civilian teammates might not be weak, but he never thought that they would be so strong, even though the melee battle behind them showed that their fight was actually a mess. But the special training of Mist Shinobi and Dragonfire technique alone is enough for their team to win in the battle, especially the close quarters ninjutsu style of Asuma. Unless they meet a genius team, they are unlikely to encounter an opponent at all. However, there is no genius team anymore. Every genius has 2 pig teammates. I thought Konoha was the same, but now he understands that his thinking is too simple. Their pig teammates are real pigs, and the opponent's commoner genin is all pretending to be pigs. There is an essential difference between the two. How could he have time to sit on the outfield to watch the excitement, and now it is obvious that the excitement on the infield side is better to watch. Although his team had just been eliminated, Ebizo didn't really care too much about it. He was ready to have his head shaved this time, and it's good that everyone survived. Chunin quota. What's the use of that thing? Saving your life is the key. If you survive this time, you will have a better chance next time. But other ninja villages are different. He doesn't know what Iwagakure thinks, but Kirigakure is aggressive this time, and it seems that he wants to rectify the name of the village. And now, Konoha has already started to stretch out its claws. Yugura was indeed intimidated. Bird, heel. The 2 most inconspicuous names have become the best proof of Konoha's strength at this time. Even the most ordinary civilians have this strength, and others can imagine. This generation of Konoha. Terrible. There was already some despair in his heart. First, now he thinks that it would be good if Kirigakure can guarantee Terumi Mei and Gaidong Manue to successfully get places, but he doesn't want to do more. Konoha has a promising future. I sighed heavily. He still doesn't know what the upper limit of Konoha's next generation is, but the quality of the lower limit is already frighteningly high. He is not afraid of Sarutobi Hiruzen, because although Sarutobi Hiruzen himself is powerful, he does not have the ability to further improve the village. He is just a conservative and capital-saving Hokage. However, Tsunade, Kyochi Kanda, Konoha under their leadership made Ai Yinyan somewhat desperate. The opponent has such powerful means and background, and this time Cloud Shinobi Village was defeated again. What will they use to start a war with Konoha more than 10 years later? He doesn't have that confidence. Must learn. Not as good as others, no shame at all. The shame is to lose. I let go of his desire to win, and began to think about how Konoha could make the civilians so powerful. He kept recalling the battle just now in his mind, and he had the answer in his heart. Focus. Judging from the course of the battle, the 2 Konoha genins were in a mess in melee combat. They were not Sand Shinobi's opponents at all, they only knew that move. But even so, what they can do on the battlefield is much stronger than normal genin. He couldn't help but hammered his palm. I see. Genin who practiced normally has a pitifully small effect on the battlefield. So, instead of letting them focus on their practice, it is better to attack one side. Mist Shinobi, Dragonfire technique. These 2 ninjutsu gave Asuma an excellent assassination environment, so their role was achieved. Like these 2 techniques, works well in any Chunin, Jonin squad. So, Konoha's current strategy is to treat the team as a whole, and train and guide ninjas with the team as a unit, so that they can form a more perfect cooperation. That's right, it's true. Most genin can't stand alone, it's better to let them form a team, and the real genius of this kind of education will also emerge. To be frank, after his father died, he was rather confused at first. The state of Cloud Shinobi Village is not enough to start another war, so revenge is basically impossible. But how to develop the village in the future, he has no answer in his mind. Now he understands. Educational, ninja squad adaptation. If you don't adapt, you will fall behind. 10 years later, their Cloud Shinobi Village can no longer compete with Konoha, and even Iwagakure may learn this model to achieve ninjutsu diversification against their Cloud Shinobi Village. Come to Konoha and earn big. I was ecstatic. Most of them are Jonin here, but there are gaps among Jonin. Not every Jonin can see the truth of Konoha Shinobi art distribution. Like Da-Ren Village, I basically understand it, and Shao-Ren Village. Only Yahiko and Jonin of Taki Shinobi Village thought about it. Obviously. They also understood. But Jonin from other Shaonin villages are sometimes confused, and sometimes they look suddenly enlightened. No one spoke. Some information can be shared, but these are all the secrets to becoming stronger, and what everyone understands may not be the same, and they are worried that others will learn more. So, there was silence inside, except for the voices of Kyochi and Orochimaru, and Ebizo, the leader of Sunagakure of the Teaching Bureau, walked in slowly. He was very calm, and when he saw the heavy expressions of other people, his heart became even calmer. These people must feel. The only thing you should learn is ninja education, right? This stuff. The key is the economy. Ebizo's heart is like a mirror, and if he wants to exercise chakra nature transformation, he must need Bingliang pills to restore his physical strength and create chakra. How can you do it without money? Backstage. Third generation frowns. He naturally knows the value of this tactic and model, and has discussed it with Tsunade before, but Tsunade's support for Kyochi has nothing to do with it. So, in the end he still didn't mention it to Kyochi. In terms of benefits, perhaps only the nobles of the Fire Nation have stronger confidence in Konoha, which has deterred other ninja villages, and the rest seem to be not too much. Until now, he still doesn't understand. Certainly. If you don't understand, you don't understand, but... Hiruzen, how could you agree to such a stupid decision? Old man, from the perspective of the effect, Kyochi's several decisions are fine. Konoha has been thriving and getting stronger under his and Tsunade's management, but we and Mitokado Homura have been in decline for many years. Third generation said earnestly, leave these things alone, and there has been less fuss at Gen recently. I will really retire when Tsunade takes over. Danzo had an unswerving expression on his face, but he didn't say anything, just glanced at him, and then walked away silently. He did come to test it out. When he thought about it, third generation said he was retiring, but in the future, he would serve as a consultant to participate in the governance of the village. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen really planned to retire. So, his tactics are indeed about to change. Danzo left silently. He hadn't planned to take care of the Chunin exam, otherwise he would not have come to find third generation now, but would have gone directly to Tsunade. Third generation smokes in the background while maintaining the telescope technique. From time to look to the next door. In fact, he didn't understand what Kyochi was thinking, but he vaguely felt that it should have something to do with the overall plan, and what Danzo opposes, just support it. It turns out, he and Danzo were all wrong. With one wrong answer ruled out, isn't it simple what to do? Moreover, the matter has come to this point, even if it is against it, it is useless. He thought to himself. But, I have to admit that this guy Kyochi is really good at bringing the genins. Although most of them only know one kind of ninjutsu, this one is very good and flexible. For example, Kanai cooperates with steel wire to realize the three-line dragon fire technique. Many Chunin can't do it. But, I have to say that Sparrow's melee combat is really stretched, and it is very difficult to face a genin who is not good at Sanagakure. Only ninja and dragon fire technique are not bad. As for Asuma, third generation can only say, Kyochi taught well. This vacuum sword is really nice. He looked a little happy and couldn't help but look at it for a while. Master third generation. You like Asuma so much, why don't you communicate with him more? Hide in the dark and peek, right? At least cut the channel and change to another place, he's done playing here. Kyochi came and knocked on the door. Third generation came back to his senses, feeling a little embarrassed. But, he noticed that Kyochi came as Shadow Clone. Obviously, he didn't just come here to remind him of this. After all, he had already taught Orochimaru the telescope technique, and now Orochimaru, him, and Kyochi are using it. Only him fishing has little effect at all. Just now, Danzo is here, isn't that old boy, he just wants to point at the opportunity. Kyochi couldn't help but complain. He just sensed Danzo's breath, so he sent a shadow clone to come over to have a look. Don't worry, I persuaded him to leave. Persuasion. Don't be funny. If you can persuade Danzo, Konoha can still be like this. With his brain, I think he is stupid for fighting, and his vision is too low. Ahem. Third generation coughed again and again. Good boy. Are you yelling at Danzo or yelling at me? But, he really can't refute. After all, Konoha was in his hands and was almost besieged by the four sides. The situation was once so miserable that groups of children almost graduated early again. Fortunately, Kyochi stepped forward. Otherwise, so far, Konoha may still be fighting other ninja villages. Master Hokage, just now the Research Institute sent a report, so now, I plan to explain my plan to you. Kyochi handed over a scroll. This is the results report of the Institute. The third generation took over. After a few glances, I immediately stood up in surprise and almost lost control of the telescope technique. Successful. Calm down, calm down. At present, it is only mastered by one person. This is just the beginning, and it turns out that the wood style mastered by ordinary people really has no fighting ability. Kyochi comforted the old man. Third generation shook his head and sighed. Kyochi, you haven't experienced that era. In our era, wood style used to be a symbol of invincibility. We were crazy enough to do taboo experiments in an attempt to reproduce wood style, but all failed. However, Kyochi didn't do experiments, but researched, analyzed, cross-discussed and tried, and finally came up with wood style. Although it is only an extremely weakened version, the meaning is completely different. The first step to success. Holding the scroll, he was extremely excited. At the moment, it's just Toshiki Kazatsuri, others haven't grasped it yet, and the Kazeji clan is the descendant of Senju just like Mikanda, so it doesn't prove anything. Kyochi shakes his head. He is still not satisfied with this level, because he suspects that Fengji Junshu is Fengji Mengwang's father, and his hair color is in the same line as his strange hairstyle hobby. Third generation passed through the initial excitement, and now nodded repeatedly, treating this report as a treasure. Several seconds passed. He said, "Go on, I've recovered." Yes, learning nature transformation is not free. During this period, our village's expenditure on Bingliang pills is several times that of before, and they are provided for free. Bingliangwan. The Green Seedling Project. Third generation was thoughtful after hearing this. Kyochi mentioned that the ultimate goal of the Green Sprout Project is to use wood-style chakra to ripen those medicinal materials to produce mass-produced Bingliangwan. So, these ration pills? He sort of got it. Kyochi engages in watching games, not just to make money now, but more to make money in the future, and even use mass-produced Bingliang pills to defeat the enemy's internal system. This, I didn't expect it. He was stunned for a long time, and said seriously, "Please continue." Yes, they can choose not to buy it, but everyone else buys it, and if they don't buy it, they will fall behind, so we need to keep this kind of Chunin exam going. Kyochi said. In this exam, he basically achieved most of the fairness, and didn't fiddle with the rules too much. It's not fair just. They practiced ahead of time. I understand. Yours feels like a small team competition. If you don't practice like this, you will fall behind. You can't maintain your current position, so you have to compete together? Third generation understands. The premise of this is that Konoha can always maintain the lead. Once it is surpassed by others, the rules will be determined by the outside village, and their method will not work. Kyochi nodded, but shook his head slightly and said, "It's not just that. Other villages are strong, and the future generations will have pressure, so they won't be complacent on the achievements of the predecessors." Catfish effect. The other villages are catfish, which keeps Konoha's people motivated. Certainly. If caught up and devoured, it deserves it too. Think about it. If Shodai left all the tail beasts in Konoha back then, would our village have Ino Shikacho, Anbu, guards, etc.? War is always bad, but I have to admit you're right. Third generation sighed. War is bad, but war also stimulates creativity. Were Ino Shikacho originally together? Number. They are a tacit understanding that has been developed through generations of grinding, training, and gradual cooperation during the war, so now basically the three clans will deliberately cultivate the cooperation of the clansmen. There are also 5 escapes of the Sarutobi family, many ninjutsu creations of the second generation, and so on. These techniques were developed to solve difficulties. If all the tailed beasts belonged to Konoha, Konoha would not be able to flourish like it is now, and even appear to be strong but actually weak, because their strength is based on Jinchuriki, not their own strength. What if Jinchuriki goes berserk? Certainly. This is what Senju Tobarama says. Tailed beasts are unreliable, and neither is Jinchuriki. Kyochi's words reminded third generation of his teacher's words again. He couldn't help falling into silence, and then let out a long sigh. This kid has never met Senju Tobarama, but he looks more like the heir of Senju Tobarama and Senju Hashirama than himself. This feeling is really. It's comforting and F***ed up, because he can't help but wonder, what have he learned from second generation for so many years? It's not as good as people who read books and know more. Waste. Third generation's mentality collapsed, and he waved Kyochi to leave. He didn't want to explain too much, because after returning to the village from the battlefield, the third generation actually rarely asked about Kyochi and Tsunade, and even if they asked, it was just inquiring, rather than questioning or changing the result. It's the same this time. Kyochi didn't say anything, and he didn't want to be held accountable. After all, after the Chunin exam, he planned to resign and hand over the village to Tsunade. So, he thought for a while and added another sentence. You don't have to think too much. Of course I think differently from you, but it doesn't mean that I will oppose you. If I don't even have this trust, how can I pass Hokage to Tsunade? Yes, and that is why I hope you understand what I mean. Kyochi dissipated after bowing slightly. Third generation was silent for a moment, then sighed. Just now, he had a feeling from the bottom of his heart. Times have passed. Their set of rules may no longer be useful in the new era with the promotion of Kyochi. What will happen to Konoha and even the ninja world? The third generation doesn't know. With his knowledge alone, it is no longer possible to deduce such a future. But he wanted to see it for himself. He returned his attention to the exam, and the chaos of shrinking circles had subsided, but the battles continued one after another, the scope narrowed, and everyone's collision was inevitable. But it's obvious. Everyone gradually understood how to play. This is a different kind of war. The ninja squads in each village began to assemble to sweep out those small ninja village teams. Of course, this is what most ninja villages do. Cloud Shinobi Village is different. They just want to win, so. Even though they knew that someone was pretending to be Cloud Shinobi, but now, they are still playing very hotly with the Rock Shinobi team, and they just don't care about the results at all. And it was Samuel who played a key role. She distributed a lot of resources to other teams, making Cloud Shinobi much stronger. Otherwise they would be weak and even partially eliminated after the second round. Samui is great. Cloud Shinobi's educational environment can teach such students. It's incredible. Chaotic past. They can finally catch their breath. Orochimaru admires Samui. Although she is a female ninja, Cloud Shinobi lacks calmness and flexibility. Although Wooden Golem is also very smart, she is a bit arrogant. He doesn't like it very much. There are always a few upgraded ones. Besides, 4th Raikage's impulsiveness has nothing to do with 3rd Raikage and the genin taught by the ninja school teachers? Well, you're right. Orochimaru pondered for a moment, finally unable to refute. Really? I is impulsive, 3rd Raikage, the teachers and students of ninja school are innocent. The second lap is different from the first lap. The smaller the circle, the more collisions, especially now that the squads from each ninja village have assembled, the battle situation has suddenly expanded a lot. On Cloud Shinobi's side, obviously Samui, commanded by Wooden Golem. And Konoha here, obviously, Asuma, Shisui. It has nothing to do with their surnames, but they are Kyochi's disciples, and they are the strongest among all of them. Orochimaru took a look and noticed 2 of Minato's disciples. Obito, Lin, they are teamed with Yamashiro Aoba. This is a bit of luck. I did it in secret. Kyochi has nothing to hide. Some care is necessary. Obito has a single mind, and Lin is not stupid, but she is too soft-tempered to command others at all. They need a captain. Aoba Yamashiro is undoubtedly the most suitable. After all, he had a cooperation experience with Obito once. Although the result was tragic, but at least he knew Obito, and had a relatively tacit understanding. Orochimaru laughed dumbfounded. Obito. There are indeed some. But, after he smiled, he still told the truth. Obito's performance in this test is still good. Several ninjutsu are remarkable, and the subjective selection in the battle is also impressive. The physical skills have improved a lot compared to before. You care about Uchiha so much. Kyochi doesn't even know what Obito Taiju was like before. It's not that I don't care. Obito is now practicing with Guy and Might Die, and his physical skills have definitely improved a lot. What he teaches Obito is more about tactical routines and coordination routines. To deal with dead brains, we must use dead-brained methods. Not flexible. Back the meeting, right? Obviously. Obito did a good job. At least he knew that he cast the spell under the cover of the crows in Yamashiro Aoba. Like in the battle just now, his Great Fireball miraculously hit a person directly. Great Fireball hits directly. That is to say, Konoha's medical level is high, and the treatment of medical ninja, Kyochi, and Tsunade is in place first, otherwise it would be impossible to save him. People from other villages can only look and sigh when they see it. There is no village that does not want Tsunade's large-scale healing technique, but unfortunately, there is only one family in the whole ninja world, and even the Konoha Academy has only Tsunade and Kyochi. The resources in the second circle began to appear at fixed points. Released by a flare, marking the location of the resource. This is also proposed by Kyochi. It turned out to work great. This time Kyochi did not give the front view map, but gave the situation around the 3 boxes. From no one at the beginning, several teams gradually appeared. Then too, the team assembled by Dawn Ninja Village appeared. Konoha. The Konoha Shinobi are all here? A team led by Wooden Golem intends to see if there is any benefit to pick it up. As a result, there are 7 or 8 teams of Konohawu, and it seems that everyone has arrived. Although she thinks she is strong, she will not be so stupid as to lead everyone to die. So, without any hesitation, turn around and withdraw. The same goes for everyone else. Only Iwagakure and Kirigakure were a little bit reluctant. There were quite a few of them, 3 or 4 teams, almost half the number of Mist Ninja who were still alive. And Iwagakure. They're the same as Konoha, except for a team to induce Cloud Shinobi, everything else is here. How to do? It's too late to get other resources now. Either save your strength and wait for the 3rd lap, or fight. Terumi Mei is still thinking. But, the next moment, she saw that someone had drawn out a knife. No more beheading? Rock Shinobi is not gone, I want to try. Say no more. Terumi Mei was silent for a moment, and then exhorted. People from Konoha know the Mist Shinobi technique and have studied the assassination technique, so you have no chance. If it doesn't work, it's okay to lose, just come back next time. Say no more. She thought for a while, then looked at the two teammates who were no longer beheaded. The two were silent. They don't want to stay, because as long as they follow the big team, they are basically guaranteed to advance to the third round, and there is no need to take risks with them. Terumi Mei hesitated for a moment, then said, if you want to escape, go to this direction, we will meet you in front. Thank you. Thank you for forgiving my waywardness. No more chopping and bowing deeply. Then, everyone started to retreat, and Zai Bu Zan carefully concealed himself. He hid in the water. Even if there are parasites and birds, it is difficult to notice him, but there is no hydration technique, and he can only hide in the water by holding his breath. If there were no white eyes, almost no one would have spotted him. But, for this exam, people from Hyuga Branch House will take part. There is a Mist who can't bear to leave and hides in the water, but he is not a ghost lamp family. What does he want? I do not know either. Hyuga Homan looked confused. That guy is not of the ghost lamp family, although hiding in the water can avoid most of the perception methods, but this does not include white eyes. Doesn't the other party even know this? You want to fish in troubled waters? Asuma glanced that way, then moved his gaze back to the Rock Shinobi team ahead. 6 Rock Shinobi squads. This is basically all of Rock Shinobi's surviving people, but they have assembled 8 teams here, and everyone is not weak. He doesn't think Rock Shinobi dares to come up to head-on. More likely. Be careful where you step, they might want to change the terrain with Earth style. Asuma thought of a possibility. Shisui is not here, he has to take the lead, the pressure is huge at this time, but this is the only possibility he can think of, and in fact. A ninja kit flew from the sky. The next moment, the ground below split open, part of it was raised and part of it was lowered, which directly changed the landform here, and Rock Shinobi used the Earth Dragon hidden technique to prepare for the attack. But, before they could make a move, Konoha also made a move. Throw. Shiranui Xuanjian finished speaking. Then, a pile of kunai was thrown out, and there were iron wires wrapped around the kunai. These wires formed a network just below the package, and the other end of the kunai was deeply embedded in the tree on the other side. Rock Shinobi had no choice but to use ninjutsu to change the terrain again. But, Konoha's other team, led by Asuma, was already approaching them. At the same time, a bunch of crows flew down from the sky, circling and interfering with them. However, at this time, Zabuzan rushed out along the river. Someone wants to be a hero. Kyochi smiled and teased from above. Charge alone. Crazy. Even if he is not beheaded and has a name bonus, but now Konoha is not the previous team. These people have seen blood and received special training, so it is impossible for them to be timid. The mere Mist Shinobi technique did not cause panic at all, but instead helped Konoha. Shiranui Genma instantly changed his strategy. Fly to grab the package. Rock Shinobi is in a hurry. But, at this time, from their side positions, fireballs came overwhelmingly. Great fireball. Wind-style great breakthrough. Combining the flames of the two great fireball techniques together with the effect of wind-style, the combination of Asuma, Obito and Yamashiro Aoba is almost perfect. A huge wave of fire swept across the surroundings in an instant. Rock Shinobi hastened to resist with the earth flow wall. But, they were already besieged by crows on one side, and now they were attacked by flames on the other side, so they couldn't handle it in a hurry. Huang Tu sighed softly. These children have done a good job, but Konoha is really betting all on one resource, and it seems that he has no plan to seize more resources. Huish, what a misfortune. I laughed from the sidelines. At the cost of a small team to distract the Cloud Shinobi army, the result still failed to get the resources. Third lap. Rock Shinobi is eliminated. But Yagura didn't have time to laugh, because Mist Shinobi's situation is also very bad, and it must be useless to stay if he doesn't kill him, and he doesn't even understand why he has to do this if he doesn't kill him. Does this look like a chance? No doubt. Number. Because Konoha has white eyes. His Mist Shinobi technique and silent assassination technique are already very good, and there are almost no flaws. If he doesn't roll his eyes, he has a certain chance of success. Kyochi had to admire Zabucho. He wants to use this method to stimulate his own potential. It seems to have worked. The Mist Shinobi technique, silent assassination technique and body flicker technique this time are almost the best level that Bujan can use at this age, but unfortunately, he met with supercilious eyes. Pity. Orochimaru sighed. You seem to understand him. Of course, if ordinary people want to progress faster, they must force themselves to make a breakthrough between life and death. Although it is extreme, the method is effective. Pity. There is no blood succession limit, no special talents in ninjutsu. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he seeks a breakthrough between life and death, the upper limit is only this. This is the ninja world. The more I study, the more Orochimaru understands this truth, the more pitiful he is for Zabuzan. Maybe he can become a very good Jonin in the future. But it is impossible for him to reach the level of Ghost Lantern Full Moon and Terumi Mei. Orochimaru didn't hide what he said, and said it directly in the commentary. Kyoshi was slightly taken aback, then smiled and didn't say anything more. Yagura at the bottom froze for a moment, then sighed, and didn't say anything more. Undoubtedly, there is no doubt that it will not succeed. His hand touched the package, but the next second, the 8 trigrams palms of the Hyuga clan arrived. 8 trigrams 16 palms. Although it is not 64 palms, but at the genin level, 16 palms alone are enough. The power of Gentle Fist stopped Zabuzan here. He could no longer escape. Even in the end, he was still fighting awkwardly, but Konoha's side was not Chinese cabbage, so it was impossible to watch him show alone. You communicate with my shadow clone here, and I will go down to do something. Orochimaru was dumbfounded. Shadow clone? What can that thing do? And Kyochi's shadow clone is still secondhand. Kyochi's current chakra is definitely not full. This means, most of the maintenance of telescope technique depends on him and third Hokage. Funny. Those who can do more work, I know you can do it. And the things below me are also very important, and I must be present in person to adapt to the situation. What about cheating ghosts? Orochimaru couldn't complain from the bottom of his heart. Shadow Clone can also deal with many things, but the main body feels boring, but has to bear more pressure, things like this. He also wanted to escape from the body, but unfortunately, at least one person must stay here. I'll talk to you later about some future development trends of ninjutsu in my eyes. Make a deal. Orochimaru didn't hesitate. For others, the future may be uncertain, but in Orochimaru's view, what Kyoshi is doing now has gradually begun to develop the future of the ninja world in the direction he wants. Kyoshi has the right to speak about the future. It's your hard work here. Kyoshi smiled, not surprised by Orochimaru's decision. To deal with him, it is more straightforward to use ninjutsu knowledge to lure him, and everything else is false. As soon as the price is opened, take it directly. Shadow Clone is helpless, but it is no secret that Kyoshi squeezed Shadow Clone, and this kind of atmosphere is so bad that even Orochimaru, who are relatively strong, began to use Shadow Clone to work. In Kyoshi's words, 2 people. Double time, prolong life in disguise. Orochimaru felt that there was nothing wrong with it, and even began to study how to use Shadow Clone at no cost, so that more Shadow Clone could work for him. Can only say, Kyoshi got off to a bad start. After the main body left, Orochimaru smiled and said, Kyoshi-kun, how do you think ninjutsu should develop in the future? You think I'll say it? It's not bad to try. Ontology and Shadow Clone still have some differences in thinking, especially at certain times, right? The corners of Orochimaru's mouth twitched slightly. The avatar and the main body are emotionally different, like now they have great complaints, maybe they can get some information. Kyoshi smiled, nodded and said, it makes sense, I am a clone. What does the promise of the main body have to do with me? Then let me talk about it. In my opinion, the future trend of the ninja world must focus on people's livelihood, and ninjutsu. Well, it seems that we haven't talked for a long time, and it is more important to work first. After Kyoshi's avatar finished speaking, he explained the current situation in a serious manner, leaving Orochimaru in a mess. It's the second time. This guy, really. The avatar is slightly different from the main body in terms of emotions and thinking, but the personality is the same bad, making people want to beat him up. He thinks he can beat Shadow Clone, but alas. After playing Shadow Clone, he may have to split another Shadow Clone to replace Kyoshi's work. So, I had to endure it. But Kyoshi wasn't completely silent, either. People's livelihood. This is the future trend. By the time of Naruto, the basic Jonin technique will focus on this aspect, but Kyoshi's view is slightly different from Naruto's. People's livelihood is really needed, but the fist must also be hard enough, otherwise Otsutsuki and that group of supercilious idiots, if they don't develop their strength, how can I get them to sit down and talk to me in a friendly manner? People's livelihood and strength are both grasped. This is the last word. In order to achieve this goal, Kyoshi really needs Orochimaru's help, especially Orochimaru's wood-style research this time, is simply a perfect tool. To cooperate with him yourself, you only need to provide theoretical support, some help, and get Orochimaru interested. Orochimaru should be talking now, right? Went downstairs. Kyoshi pondered secretly. That guy was not honest at all, but as a toolman, he was too good to be rejected. Well. Kyochi sighed, disguised himself, and walked downstairs from above. Look outside for a while. The atmosphere outside was very lively, a bit like the scene of watching the game in the previous life. Unfortunately, there were not enough supporters, but it was not because he didn't expect it, but because everyone even watched the game for the first time. How would you know who is the idol? I'll know next time. Like Shisui has a chance to become an idol ninja. Asuma. He is still a good boy without a beard. If he grows a beard and then smokes, forget it. He is afraid of scaring the child. Glancing outside, he walked inside. Everyone is very focused. Seeing the chiefs of the ninja village scratching their heads and thinking hard, Kyochi felt genuinely happy, and everyone should roll together. This ninja world has to do something new. Whether Madara has a chance to be resurrected, he doesn't know, but Kyochi hopes that when Madara comes back from resurrection, the ninja world he sees will be a different ninja world. Everyone no longer plays ordinary ninjutsu, a bunch of lightning-style Kilin. A real large-scale ninja war, not a small scene with no coordination like now. Can something like Hokage be called a serious war? It makes people laugh. Hee. Kyochi Jonin is very excited, and he came down to watch the excitement in person. Kyochi glanced sideways. Ebizo? How did this old man recognize himself? He took a closer look and understood, because Ebizo was also in a corner, not with Yi Kang, and he had a similar smile on his face. Reminiscent of the inexplicable rewards before. He feels that Ebizo has enlightened, again. People grow old. It's about Ebizo, and the point is, this old thing will live a long time, and he won't die if some of the people in this room die. Kyochi is here. At this time, I heard a slight voice, and according to the sound, he saw Ebizo having a lewd conversation with a strange Jonin in the corner. The voice was kept very low, for fear that others would hear it. Sneaky. He moved closer quietly. What are your thoughts on the next Chunin exam? What can you think? I don't know if everyone is satisfied with this holding. Besides, it's not good to hold Konoha all the time. It's a waste of money and money. Kyochi sighs. Although they made some money, they actually didn't make much money. Most of the money went into the pockets of the villagers, and the village was an expense. Certainly. It is definitely useful for driving the economy, especially after the formation of regular events. It is not difficult to foresee the situation where Ninja Village rushes to hold them. But, now. How about leaving it to me at Sanagakure next time? Oh? Kyochi gave him a surprised look. Good guy. He was still worried about who would be in charge of the next session, but he never expected that Ebizo would come to his door first. If it's someone else, he thinks that the other person just wants to look good, but Ebizo is different. He has done business in the economic circle, so Ebizo probably has a good understanding of that stuff. The longer you live, the more you read, the more you know. He was not surprised to understand this, but even the brain is so active. He looked at Ebizo, smiled and said, Senior, Sanagakure is not that beautiful yet. Hey, no one is answering now, why do you hide it? Ebizo's voice dropped. Is there really no one? Kyochi didn't say any more, just smiled lightly, then pointed to the screen and said, look at the exam first, and I'll have a good chat with you guys when this is over. That's a good feeling. Ebizo nods, but smiles a little forcedly. If you don't see a rabbit, don't scatter an eagle. It doesn't seem so easy to win the next class without giving some benefits. He was coping with it and looked at the screen, not thinking about the exam at all. Sanagakure can't get too many places, what's so good about it? The next one is the key. Sanagakure is willing to give up on the mission to the south of the country of Chuan. Give us the share of the mission in the south, and I'll give you a sincere suggestion. Do you want to hear it? Kyochi whispered. He noticed this guy was so big, only he thought he was walking in a hidden way, but in fact most people were paying attention to this side. Ebizo froze for a moment, then didn't immediately agree. That's not what he wanted. Suggest. This means. You think Sanagakure is not suitable to take? Ha ha. Sure enough, the strength is still too weak. Hee. It's exciting to watch the exam. Kyochi didn't answer, just smiled and said nothing, making Ebizo feel uncomfortable scratching his head, just wanting to cut open Kyochi's brain to see what's inside. They are also an idea. But, soon, he has no time to pay attention to Kyochi's side because. Shisui. On the screen, a figure suddenly appeared from the Team Alliance of Shaonin Village in the distance, and the figure plunged into the Cloud Shinobi team like a meteor. Samui immediately blocked it with ninjutsu, but the figure of Shisui shuttled through the crowd. The ninja sword in his hand was dancing like a willow leaf. Konoha Ryu Willow. The next moment, the wind howled. Vacuum sword. His goal was not to seize the package, because the package was not small, and the words he carried were simply not enough to escape. Shisui's goal is just to cut it into pieces with one sword. The wind-style sword devoured the package, and the chaotic wind raged, tearing the ration pills and ninja tools in the package, and the next moment, Shisui threw out a dozen detonating symbols. After the explosion, Shisui disappeared without a trace. It is difficult to rob, but he is a professional at destroying. This guy. Ai sits up. This guy is here to cause damage, and at the same time, he understands why Kyochi called Shisui, Shisui of Shisui, because this kid's body flicker technique almost got Kyochi's true biography. Even the routine of sabotage is almost the same. And, in that short moment just now, completing so many steps. Sharingan? Those eyes flashed in Ai's mind, and then he himself was taken aback by the conjecture. He didn't know Shisui's exact age, but from the looks of it, he was 8 or 9 years old at most. Sharingan was awakened at this age, and he was still so outstanding in other aspects. What kind of freak is this? He was speechless for a long time. Disciple of Kyochi Kanda. Sure enough, there is nothing false. When this guy grows up, he will be even scarier than White Fang's son, because he not only has Sharingan and top talent, but also a very strong and educational teacher. Kyochi Jonin, your disciple should have awakened the Sharingan, right? You guess. Kyochi glanced at Ai. As expected of playing speed, the grasp of speed and reaction speed is too strong, and if you say it now, you may not mean to put Shisui on the fire. Sharingan. Still such a young child. Everyone's eyes are red. Such a genius. Why are they all from Konoha? Every generation of Konoha has geniuses, which is really enviable. Yahiko sighs. He is really not eccentric, but sincerely admires, but at the same time, he is very clear about the reason why Konoha has a genius. The economy is good, the education is good, and the background is strong. Like Nagato. There is no doubt that Nagato is an out-and-out genius. But, if they hadn't met Jiraiya, the three of them would have never been able to get in touch with advanced ninjutsu. Even if they were lucky enough to become Rain Shinobi in Rain Shinobi Village, their final achievements would not be as high as they are now. Because of Rain Shinobi's education system and ninjutsu system. It's hard to say. In addition, in the bottom layer, the ability and quality of genin are too different. There are a lot of chunin here in Konoha. Almost all of them can be rated as jonin in Rain Shinobi Village, but here, they are just chunin or special jonin. This is Da Ninja Village. A strong background creates a stronger next generation. As long as there is no problem with this kind of education cycle, Konoha will not decline, and even if there is a relatively weak generation, it will be able to support ZD's genius. Rain Shinobi Village, it is too difficult to do this. He thought about it. Many team leaders have the same thoughts as Yahiko, but as the victim of Shisui's attack, Ai seems very indifferent. This kind of test depends on its own ability. Wooden Golem didn't dare to damage Konoha, but Shisui dared and did it. This is how amazing they are. What he's thinking now is, Konoha's Ninja 3 body technique all seem to be strong. 3 body technique is the foundation. Everyone understands this truth, but the more basic things are, the more difficult it is to teach them well. All of Konoha's genin bases are this strong. Could it be? Everyone was taught by Kyochi. How did it work? He was amazed. At this time, not many people care about the exam itself. This kind of exam is about teamwork, tactics, and team strength. Individual strength does not account for as much as the confrontation system. In the second round, Cloud Shinobi's resources were destroyed, leaving only ninja tools that could not be blown up. So, for Cloud Shinobi, he basically lost the qualification to win against Konoha on the third lap, while Sanagakure and Iwagakure were even less qualified. As for Kirigakure, they were too greedy and wanted to divide their forces to get 2 resource points, but in the end they lost sight of the other and failed to get all the third resource point. Konoha, on the other hand, took down a package firmly. Bingliangwen and Detonating Talisman have been greatly supplemented, and the other villages can't fight in the third circle. Everyone has already expected that the next one will definitely be a unilateral rampage. Even if they couldn't admit defeat, they all felt that they could vote after entering the third round. So, everyone's attention has been distracted from the exam. Senior Tsunade, Kyochi Jonin, I don't know about the Chunin exam in the coming year, and whether I can handle this large-scale exam. The large-scale exam is too bad. Konoha's materials are all spent on money. To be honest, Kyochi and I disagree. However, Mr. Hokage thinks that an exchange of feelings can be held, so I have to listen to him. Tsunade sighed, throwing the blame on third generation. Anyway, third generation is not there. Everyone was silent. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Liar. That guy can engage in such a big fight. It must be impossible. It must be Kyochi and Tsunade who advocate, and the root of all evil must be Kyochi Kanda. As for losing money, to be honest, they don't really believe it. Those nobles were full of money in their pockets, and this kind of ninja duel close to the battlefield was never seen at ordinary times, and Muya probably collected a lot of money for the tickets alone. Konoha doesn't have much interest in the coming year. We can't keep doing it all the time. That's not a big deal. I think it's better to take turns doing this kind of Chunin exam in the world of ninjas. Tsunade said casually. Although Konoha's Tsunade is not yet in power, he is already in power. Although other villages do not know, the main show is coming. Kyochi sat upright. He came down to talk about these things, and it was not at ease to let the avatar talk about it. Take turns? Everyone hesitated. Turn. It costs a lot to hold it once. Shaoran village can't afford it, and Darren village may not be willing, it's just a hot potato. Certainly. This is what most people think. Ebizo's heart was already filled with joy. Don't want? Don't best. He can take on the job with great satisfaction and reluctance. Ebizo has already made up his mind. After taking this job, he will ask the daimyo for funds for construction after returning home. He can keep the site for himself after the exam. Those people don't usually give money. How can they not pay for such a grand event? As for ticket money, that's another matter. How many can be fooled? He is ready to stand up. But I thought for a while and said, the rules of the Chunin exam must be in accordance with this? I'll have to ask Kyochi about that. Tsunade didn't answer directly. She is not familiar with this. The test rules should be fair, and some details don't matter. We Konoha follow this method because we have a lot of forests here. If you hold it in Cloud Shinobi Village, you can't have to find a forest, right? That's the truth. I grinned, gearing up. If that's the case, I'm interested in Cloud Shinobi Village. Don't be in a hurry. Talking about this now, everyone will inevitably be impulsive and hesitant, and the good and the bad are mixed among the ninja villages. If everyone does this, what will happen to the ninja village? Kyochi said. Yahiko was secretly excited when he heard this. Exactly. This can be said to his heart. If you have to take this level of examination every year to become a Chunin, it doesn't matter for Darren village, but I am afraid that Shaoran village will be overwhelmed. Even if they are Rain Shinobi village, they have no advantage in such an exam, let alone others. Asano Chengshu is somewhat skeptical. Kanda Kyochi. Is it really that good? Ebizo was stunned for a moment after hearing this, not quite understanding what Kyochi wanted to do. No more ninja exams? What do you mean? I also couldn't figure it out, but he knew it very well. If he couldn't figure it out, he just asked directly. My opinion is that everyone should conduct regional exams first, and after the regional exams are over, select a few outstanding teams to take part in the all-ninja exam. Kyochi said. Everyone froze for a few seconds after hearing this. Regional exams, Ninja World exams. A Chunin exam is divided into so many steps, is it necessary? Most Shaonin villages don't understand, but the ones from Danin village understand it too well. The Chunin exam is a stage for exchanges between countries outside of war, and this method not only guarantees the interests of Shaonin village, but also meets the communication needs of Danin village. Only, this method is good, but over time, I am afraid that the communication in the ninja world will be suspended. I said. Don't worry, Reikage. The ninjas who are promoted to the ninja level exam are funded by everyone, and they come up with things that are more symbolic of the village, such as ninja tools, weapons, or puppets. Is that so? I, Ebizo and others fell into deep thought. This kind of statement is quite interesting, especially rewarding this point. Symbolic meaning. That is, the symbol is greater than the utility, and it is an honorary award, which will not involve the village's secrets, and the regional examination is more in the interest of the small village. After thinking about it, Ebizo said, yes, but how do you decide where to hold it? Voluntary. If there are multiple contestants, vote. Kyochi said, if no one wants to, I, Konoha, will be happy to be taken advantage of. So, then I agree. Ebizo thought for a moment, before nodding in agreement. Neither I nor Huang-tu could understand what he was thinking, but neither they nor Yugura felt that Ebizo must have deeper considerations. And this considering. Money? Want to emulate Konoha? They guessed that it was about money, but they couldn't guess what Ebizo was going to do. They looked at each other, and after a long time, Yahiko said, Rain Shinobi village agrees in principle, but our village is too small. I don't know if Sanagakure is interested in organizing it together? San Shinobi is very willing to communicate with Rain Shinobi. Without external communication, it is closed to internal research, and there is no way to make progress. Ebizo secretly gave a thumbs up in his heart. Okay. He was wondering how to win over Rain Shinobi. At this moment, he fully understands Kyochi's thoughts in his heart. The existence of regional exams will undoubtedly further promote the concept of ninja village circle. Take the test together, and the bonds between Sand Shinobi, Rain Shinobi and other ninja villages will be stronger. If there are no accidents, of course. Yahiko smiled. Huang Tu frowned, knowing that things might not be as simple as he thought, but for a while, he couldn't figure out what kind of medicine was sold in the gourds of Konoha, Sanagakure and Rain Shinobi village. Yagura thought for a while and said, Kirigakure agrees, but our side is full of seas, and there is no adjacent ninja village. I wonder if we can join Konoha? You sure? Kyochi smiled half-smile. To be honest, the reason why he promoted the regional exams was because he was afraid that Konoha would fry the fish too much, and it would be useless to blow the fish pond through. But he wouldn't mind if Kirigakure delivered it to his door. After hearing this, Yagura looked at the screen and saw that Konoha's ninjas were well-mannered. Although they were only genin, they cooperated very well. Let's forget it. We can do it ourselves. Anyway, it's not much different from before. Of course, if other villages are willing to jointly organize it, Mist Shinobi welcomes it very much. Can't afford it. Cowardly. I looked at Wangtu, grinned and said, is Iwagakure interested in doing it together? Huang Tu was speechless. Held together with Cloud Shinobi Village, isn't that a sheep at the tiger's mouth? How could it be possible to agree? He shook his head quickly and looked towards Taki Ninja Village. But the team leader of Taki Ninja Village looked at Konoha, thought for a while and said to Yahiko, Yahiko Jonin, our small ninja villages are not qualified to hold it alone, so let's join together. Senior is right. I didn't expect it. Thank you for your invitation. Rain Shinobi Village is very willing. Ebizo people are numb, broken. I'm a stand-in. Senior, I'm sorry. Yahiko bowed apologetically. Ebizo waved his hand and said, it's okay, I can understand, but Sanagakure is also very weak. If you are interested, you can try regional joint exchanges in the future. Thank you very much for the teachings of the seniors. Yahiko is courteous and considerate. Everyone's heart is like a mirror. This kid was originally aiming at the small ninja villages of Takinobu Village and Kunobu Village, and his union with Sanagakure was just a throwaway. Ebizo was exploited. But even when taken advantage of, Ebizo rejoices. Sooner or later, Sanagakure will cooperate with Rain Shinobi Village. The stronger the combined power of Shaoran Village, the better the economic operation of their circle will be. Although the alliance of Shaonin Village is not a weak force, especially Takainen Village also has a Jinchuriki, but what does it have to do with him? Sanagakure is just a weak chicken in the end of the 5 major villages. At worst, he will join in. It is Iwagakure and Onoki who should be anxious. It is of course best if Takinobu Village is willing to cooperate with Rain Shinobi Village. Regarding the regional exam, Konoha does not interfere. If you need professional guidance, Konoha can provide assistance here. Real? The hearts of several Shaonin Village were immediately moved, and they looked at each other, both surprised and worried. If Konoha is really willing to guide, even if it leaks a little bit through the nails, it will be of great benefit to these little ninja villages. However, who knows if they are sincere? Of course it is true. We have many kinds of guidance, and the prices are also different. Generally, there are Jonin guidance, program guidance, and textbook sales. If you are interested, you can talk about it later. Jonin guidance? Even I was taken aback. Every Jonin is the backbone of the village. Although the skills they master are different, they are undoubtedly very important, and all of them are strictly forbidden to spread. Kyochi dared to break the taboo. Don't get me wrong, the guidance I'm talking about only involves the basics, such as how to master the 3 body technique to the most solid level, etc. If you are interested, you can talk about it in detail. Kyochi explained. Everyone nodded. Now it's right. Which ninja dared to spread the technique? But the basics. Ai's tooth hurts. As far as the basic level of Konoha's genin is concerned, it's really not covered. Except for a few crane tails, the rest of the foundation is almost solid to the point of pervert. And those few crane tails, each has its own field of expertise. It's just that there are 2 civilians in the exam, and they can't show their comprehensiveness. I took a deep breath. He gets it. Kanda Kyochi. What a vicious heart. This exam is his stage to show off. He wants to spread this knowledge to improve the strength of Shaoran Village. But he doesn't quite understand. This kid is so confident. Konoha has always been able to maintain the leading position in the ninja world. A few didn't believe it at first, but Tsunade also nodded, and they were immediately moved. Ninjutsu teaches them not to dare to think, can be based on. To put it bluntly, the genin in Konoha's exam this time is a proper elite genin on their side, a good seed who can be promoted to chunin within a year or 2. Even if it can't be the same as Konoha's, but as long as they learn most of it, it will be a great improvement for them. Those who were interested began to ponder. I was also very moved. Educate. The education in Cloud Shinobi Village is quite simple and rough. As long as you don't die, you will practice hard. However, the geographical environment of the Land of Thunder is very poor, with high mountains and rolling thunder everywhere, so the children are willing to endure hardships. But there is still a gap between the students who practice hard and Konoha. At first he didn't feel the gap, but this exam made I understand that good education methods can indeed improve the strength of ninjas. So, instead of buying Jonin guidance, he wanted to try what Kyochi called scheme guidance. But it is inconvenient to say here. Everyone didn't speak. Tsunade understood and directly brought the topic back to the exam. The exam is almost over. Now it's the third lap sweep. Only Konoha, Cloud Shinobi, and some elites from Mist Shinobi, Sand Shinobi, and Rock Shinobi are left on the field. But Konoha and Cloud Shinobi also have a lot of elites, and with the advantage in numbers, there is no way for other ninja villages to win. There is only one thing they can do now. Go to the third lap. Wu Ninja fights on their own here, quite a bit of see you in the finals. This situation cannot be more classic. Kirigakure is not weak. They have a lot of descendants of blood-limited families, but from this exam, it can be seen that Madara. Neither the Snow Clan nor the Teru Yoruichi clan came. Broken arm. The key is, there are also some serious conflicts between the Ghost Lamp clan and other ninjas. It cannot be said that the team of the whole village has no cooperation, it can only be said that the cooperation is not very good. So classic. Yagura had no choice but to sigh secretly. This is no wonder for them, it is purely a problem left over from history, and the problems between the major families cannot be resolved with a few words at present, and it will be good if it will not intensify in the future. By the third lap, Konoha's strength was fully displayed. Every squad is tough. The key is, they still cooperated with each other, and some combined ninjutsu made everyone's scalp tingle. Dragon Fire Technique, Black Oil Technique, Great Breakthrough. This is the most typical combination. A set of combined boxing, except for some elite teams, few can confront it head-on, and the performance of this kind of positive ability in the test is. In terms of grabbing resources, Konoha is almost invincible, and no one can fight them. Certainly. This is because the Rock Shinobi were all eliminated. Rock Shinobi's Earth-style ninjutsu is really top-notch in grabbing positions and causing damage. Even Kyochi can only sigh to himself, and there is no good way. Fortunately, in the first 2 laps of Cloud Shinobi chased them and beat them, so they had no resources. By the third lap, the remaining 2 or 3 were basically out of ammunition and food. After the third lap, they couldn't stand it anymore, so they raised their hands and gave up. But Lois is already very satisfied. At least the head is not shaved, what is there to be dissatisfied with? Lao Zi just watched the fun. Anyway, these people are usually not too close to him, and never treat him as a complete one of us. After a few, it has nothing to do with him. In the end, it was basically Konoha's civil war, and everyone was lacking in interest, but this time Shisui didn't release any more water, and basically went all out. Asuma is strong. He learned Feion in advance, and it is also an enhanced version of Kyochi's transformation, incorporating the invisible windblade, which is more weird and powerful. But Shisui has Sharingan. So, he lost, and Asuma didn't even understand the loss. For others, Shiranui Genma made his eyes shine. His hidden weapon practice is quite effective, and he is more flexible than before. As long as he continues to explore and practice, especially Jonin is the minimum. In fact, the strength of some special Jonin is even stronger than Jonin, but they are not comprehensive and do not have the ability to lead or make decisions. Such as Mightwear. The exam is over. Kyochi doesn't have time to meet them just yet. On the nobles' side, third Hokage went up to the top. He is familiar with this aspect. But these leaders are here, Kyochi has to come by himself. Tsunade doesn't care about this mess. After the exam, several people came to the door immediately. Among them, Asano Changshu, the leader of the Grass Ninja Village, gave the biggest gift. If there were not many people present, he would have knelt down. These are all from Ninja Village. They do have intentions, but they can't make their own decisions except Asano Changshu and Asano Changshu. This stuff is half trash. Similar to Fugaku, he is a vacillating and indecisive master, and he can't make up his mind at this time, so Kyochi spit and said it. In the end, everyone was very moved, and then they said they would go back and discuss it. Because the price is really not low, 10 million. For their Shaonin village, how can they afford such a high price, and it is not Kanda Kyochi himself, but other teachers to teach. Can this be the same? And time is short. The price and conditions alone persuaded some of them to quit. But There are also some who really want to think about it. For example, Tang Ninja Village. The environment of Tangnan Village is special. It belongs to the most famous hot spring bathing place in the ninja world. They have ninjas, but they are not very warlike. Even the village leader is just an ordinary person. So, they have needs, but they can't make up their minds, while others just ask, and they are not interested in hearing the price. Finish sending this group of people. Kyochi saw fourth Reikage not far down the street. This guy's dress is so eye-catching, it's hard not to notice it. How about it, there is no deal, right? I smiled. Kyochi eyed him a few times before turning serious. Master Reikage, you need help. Ha ha ha, is it because I lack calm wisdom? I laughed. But his tone was a little annoyed. Normal person. Who is coming to look for me at this time? Let me guess, it is impossible for Cloud Shinobi Village to buy Jonin packages, and you don't want textbooks, so you are here to buy program guidance. Kyochi said and pointed to the room, chat inside. After hearing Kyochi's words, fourth Reikage put away his clumsy facial expressions, coughed lightly, and followed through the door. After entering the house, he looked around. Pity. Geely has tidied everything here in advance, and the important things are not outside at all. 20 million. I slapped the table directly, and said angrily, you only need 10 million to sell their Jonin set meal, and sell me a plan of 20 million? Do you want to fight? You can't beat me. In addition, pay attention to the strength of your hand. If you smash my table, you will pay 10 times. Kyochi stared at his hands. This guy, like Tsunade, has a penchant for smashing things. His table is cheap, but it can also be expensive. I choked for a moment, lost his train of thought, pondered for 2 seconds before saying, Stinky boy, I can't beat you. Is this abnormal? I don't want to hurt your face, Reikage. Besides, 20 million is not a word. How do I know if you're blackmailing? That's right. Let me give you a little reminder. The situation of Cloud Shinobi Village is different from that of Konoha. If you copy it mechanically, you will definitely suffer a big loss. Of course I knew. That's why he came to Kyochi. He can afford 20 million, but Kyochi's price is disgusting, and it is clear that he is being taken advantage of. He wants to buy, but don't want to be slaughtered. You say, as long as you convince me, I will give it. I said. Kyochi heard this and took out a piece of paper and pen. You. Outrageous. Before the goods were delivered, he was required to pay the IOUs first. I had never done such a strange business since he was so grown up. The most terrible thing was that he wanted to sign and try. He hesitated. In terms of strength, intellectually, he felt that Kyochi was indeed stronger than him, and this was Konoha, and if he grabbed the IOU and spread the word, other people in Ninja Village would laugh their teeth out. So, there is really no room for regret after signing this. He was lost in thought. After a long time, I suddenly raised his hand to slap the table, but a compensation warning flashed in his mind, and then he put it down gently. Sign. IT wrote down the name with a pen, but when he finished writing, he pressed his hand on the paper. If you can't satisfy me, I will destroy this piece of paper. Okay, after all, I'm not a regular customer, I don't know my reputation, I'm just like you once. Kyochi misses Onoki a little bit. At least Onoki was very happy when he gave the money. But then he thought. Communicating with Onoki so happily seems to be because his son is a guest in Konoha. That's fine. Kyochi sorted out his thoughts, and then said, your strengths are ninjutsu and swordsmanship, and ninjutsu is relatively poor, but there is no way, because Cloud Shinobi Village has insufficient resources. Exactly. After hearing this, I felt somewhat reliable. If Kyochi came up and said something, practice more nonsense like chakra nature transformation, he would definitely go up and punch him. Do you need to say that you have ninjutsu practice? It's just that there is no money, no resources, and other ninjutsu are more stretched, so there is no other way but this. From a certain point of view, the situation of Iwagakure is similar. Among the 5 ninjutsu villages, only Konoha has the most diversity, because Konoha has the most abundant resources and the most types of families. Basically, every kind of ninjutsu has a family that is good at it. Especially the Sarutobi clan. Back then, Sarutobi Sasuke's 5 escapes were very famous in the ninja world. So, there is no way for them to reproduce the almighty road. Kyochi said, my ninjutsu, you should know, you don't have ninjutsu foundation, wouldn't you develop more ninjutsu? No spells, but enchantments? The Cloud Shinobi Village is so big, it's not even possible that they don't know how to perform chakra nature transformation. After hearing this, I fell into deep thought. Ninja sword. This is the way. How to get started with ninja sword. You have to ask yourself. Think about it yourself, can I teach you how to practice? What you bought is a program guide, not Jonin's comprehensive guide. That's not the price. Kyochi said angrily. Want a whore for nothing? He has always been the only one who prostitutes others, and there is no benefit for others to prostitute him. Fourth Raikage listened in silence. The truth is this, but with just such a sentence, he took away 20 million, and he felt cheated. You must feel cheated now, but the plan is just a few words, and of course it's not just this one, there are other things I don't think you can think of by yourself? Kyochi sneered. I was silent for a moment, then nodded in approval. To put it bluntly, the plan is really simple, but there are not many people studying ninjutsu on their side, and everyone is practicing gymnastics and lightning-style armor. But lightning-style armor has its limitations. Restrained by wind style, followed by short hands. Your lightning style can match well with ninja gear, why not use it? Ordinary iron conduction chakra is relatively poor, but the conductive effect is not weak. Lightning style plus ninja tool. This combination does not require additional practice of chakra nature transformation at all, and can make up for some shortcomings in their ninjutsu configuration, but no one at Cloud Shinobi Village seems to be doing that. You're saying that everyone uses teamwork and it works really well, and it's even better if you use the special chakra wire. Finally came the surprise. When I heard this, he felt that his money was not lost. But then, he regretted it very much. After listening to Kyochi's words, he immediately thought of Konoha using steel wire to cooperate with dragon fire technique. The answers are all in front of us, he didn't expect it at all. Hateful. Look, I've demonstrated it once, but you didn't think about it carefully. Should you pay the money? It's not too much to buy a lesson. Kyochi grinned. He liked to see that expression the most. The more I regrets, the happier he is, especially if the other party still pays. Now Ai's thighs are indeed swollen. He understood Kyochi's words deeply. Many things seem simple, but unexpected is useless. The thinking is not flexible enough. He sighed for a while, then released the IOU, and said, the money is yours, and Cloud Shinobi Village will send it later. Fresh. Let me say more. Your Cloud Shinobi Village is located in a high mountain, so it is inconvenient to grow food, but there are some high mountain medicinal materials that are rare in the ninja world. You can cultivate them artificially, which is also a big income. Kyochi reminded. After hearing this, I fell into deep thought. They were indeed planting alpine medicinal materials, but they didn't think about the whole ninja world, they all wanted to be self-sufficient. But think about it. Isn't this kind of medicinal material sold to other villages for income? It can indeed be scaled up. Why didn't I think of it myself? Hearing now, 20 million seems to be a good deal, of course. The premise is that all these solutions are used and popularized in the Kingdom of Thunder and Cloud Shinobi Village. He thought for a while, then asked again, in terms of education, do you have any suggestions? Education. You may not be able to do a lot of things after learning. The difference in conditions lies here. If you really want to learn from Konoha, you can use the Elite Genin Standard for a period of collective closed training guidance before graduation. Collective closed training. It's a group of people locked up in one place, and they are trained with high standards, mainly to improve their cooperation and basic skills as genin. Kyochi explained. I nodded repeatedly after hearing this. This is also a good idea. Although group training will waste some time and resources, relatively speaking, it will not waste too much. There is also more freedom in time. You can choose to do it when there are not many tasks. In fact, Cloud Shinobi Village has too many suggestions to give, but most of what Kyochi mentioned are ninjas, education, and people's livelihood and economy. There is only one alpine medicinal material. Because Cloud Shinobi has a fierce folk style, it is crazy to fight one by one. It's so cruel if you don't have money. If you have money, why don't you turn the sky over? He doesn't teach much about it. Leave everything alone. Moreover, just 20 million, how much more can you teach? I left contentedly. Kyochi sent him off, glancing at the system panel. Heard the hint before. But I haven't had time to see what's going on, now I open it. Complete the Ninja Village Development, Teaching. Evaluation. Good, reward. Principle of Lightning Style Armor. Not straight ninjutsu? That's fine too. Kyochi thought about it, and felt that the principle alone was already very profitable. Anyway, his main method is not lightning style, and the defense is enough now, and after reading the rewards, he thinks that the lightning style is also quite good. It gives Kyochi an idea for the next step in the 7-day chanting. Defense. Lightning style armor is actually an extension of lightning style chakra mode. Kyochi himself understands this. But how to do it, he just had a guess before, but now he basically understands. High cell activity, combined with compressed chakra. This kind of technique can be used even if it is not lightning-style chakra, but it cannot be so strongly matched with lightning style. The 7-day call can fit this pattern. Certainly. To achieve that step, in fact, it is no longer the 7-day call, but a technique that combines breathing activity, Baiao technique and chakra armor mode. If it can be realized, the 5th level of the 7-day invocation will be there. Certainly. The most important thing is that the original version can also be fake, to teach Shisui and Kakashi them. Thinking of this, he remembered. After the Chunin exam, I haven't had time to see these guys, now. He probes with chakra perception. There are no other people from Ninja Village around. It seems that they have already found what they are looking for, and basically they will not come if they don't want to look for it. I just went to see them. Guard. After the exam, everyone gathered again at Uchiha's own training ground. When Kyochi arrived, he saw a few Uchiha people whispering outside. Seeing him coming, he hurriedly saluted and greeted him, and then left quickly. It is false to say that the Uchiha clan has no grievances, but those who have grievances are suppressed by Fugaku and Daohuo, especially Daohuo, who can be said to be the king of children of the younger generation. So, until now, everyone has been training here, but nothing has happened. But, even if you have an idea, you have to hold back. If you don't accept it, it's a big deal to fight. Anyway, now that the fusion faction has been established, it is impossible for Uchiha to be monolithic. He goes inside. Shisui and the others formed a circle, seeming to be discussing something. What are you doing? Teacher. We are thinking about some of the exams just now. Asuma got up and said, it's useless to think about that thing. A simulated war is just a simulation, and it can't be the same as the real battlefield. Many rules are different on the real battlefield. Kyochi looked at Asuma as he spoke. He was not polite, and asked directly. Do you know why you lost to Shisui? Because I'm not fast enough for Shisui, Asuma said. I knew you would think that, stupid, because you're so fast. What? Asuma looked dazed, not quite understanding what Kyochi meant. Others also scratched their heads in confusion. Why? Obito is a stickler, but one good thing is that you can ask if you don't understand, and you don't feel embarrassed at all. Anyway, in the eyes of the teacher, he has no lower limit to speak of. You're getting faster and faster, but can you control that speed? Shisui has Sharingan and can perfectly control his own speed, how about you? Asuma was speechless. Obito thought about it and quickly understood. Teacher. Are you saying that he reacts too fast and can't keep up? So, wouldn't that happen to Mr. Minato's Flying Thunder God? Not everyone is Namikaze Minato. Kyochi glanced at him. This kid. Some aspects are still very sharp. But, how many days has this been taught? Good guy. In terms of address, I seem to have become his official teacher. Minato knew he was going to faint from tears. No one would think that the reason why Flying Thunder God is a forbidden technique is because it is very difficult, right? The high difficulty is just a high learning threshold that is not suitable for promotion, not a reason to ban it. Kyochi said lightly, one is because space-time ninjutsu is very dangerous, and one who is not careful will be backlashed by space. On the other hand, not many people have such a fast reaction speed. Then how to avoid it? Asuma understood, but for a while, she couldn't think of a way. Kyochi looked around. Guy is not there. Pity. He looked at Obito and said, you've been practicing with Guy recently, have you figured it out? Guy? Obito looked confused at first, then fell into deep thought. So to speak. Guy and Uncle's 8 inner gates are indeed high-speed gymnastics, but the two of them don't seem to have any problems in this regard. He thought carefully and said hesitantly, training? That's right, keep training yourself. Let the martial arts be integrated into your body memory, and become an instinctive reaction, so you don't care about the reaction, because the body may be faster than your brain. Obito felt somehow called on, but Kyochi didn't mention him at all. Illusion? He was lost in thought. After hearing this, Asuma thought for a while, nodded and said, I understand, teacher. For a ninjutsu style of close combat like mine, you should exercise more to form muscle memory. That's right, it's not just you, it's applicable to everyone. Kyochi said. Everyone nodded in unison to express their understanding, and Shisui asked at this time, Teacher, from the perspective of Sharingan, how should we deal with this kind of problem? Sharingan's insight effect is very strong. Generally speaking, physical counterattack is difficult to be effective, but if the opponent is so fast that Sharingan's insight is difficult to capture, or you can't react when you see it, then you can't deal with it. Sharingan is equivalent to slow motion plus a certain pre-reading effect. But if it is too fast, there is still a situation where it cannot react. In the past, the guards would have jumped out to refute. After all, Sharingan is something they are proud of and a glorious inheritance, and no blasphemy is allowed. However, After experiencing the battle on the Eastern Front, everyone knows that people are telling the truth. There are really people who are so fast that Sharingan can't see clearly, and there are more than one, Might Dai, Kyochi Kanda, and Namikaze Minato who masters Flying Thunder God. These are all difficult for Sharingan to deal with. Therefore, although they were very angry, they couldn't find any reason to refute, so they could only silently stay there. I understand. Shisui nodded, understanding what Kyochi meant. To fight against this kind of enemy, you must either fight for reaction or speed. The former is difficult, but the latter. Breath activation and lightning style stimulation can be done. In addition, they practice. Uchiha can also practice hard. Like Obito. Isn't he practicing gymnastics? Even. I heard that he also wore that ugly tights. Obito, you performed well this time, but you didn't handle many things well. For example, when you met Wooden Golem, were you unable to beat or run? But Aoba and Lin can't run away, Obito retorted. Then won't you hold back the Wooden Golem first and give them time to escape? Since the Wooden Golem is good at melee combat, then you should use ninjutsu bombing instead of melee. Kyochi was helpless. He had mentioned to Obito before how to cooperate with other people. Team up with Kakashi and Lin. Go up to attract firepower to create conditions for your teammates. Team up with people who are good at covering and assisting. Go up and kill them. Result. This kid really only remembered these words. Although there is progress, it is very small. Obito was powerless to argue, forget. But he didn't know that Neu Wooden Golem was so fast, he almost killed him with a claw, but fortunately he reacted in time to dodge. Aoba's words, there's not much to say, just keep going. Yes, thank you Mr. Kyochi. Aoba Yamashiro bowed. Kyochi has taught him enough in previous missions and training camps. Further development of illusion and crow abilities. Taijutsu and ninjutsu complement. These are two completely different directions, and he is allowed to ponder and choose by himself. Afterwards, Kyochi sat down. Others talk about their own shortcomings. Their team's performance exceeded my expectations, so I will add some points. You are different, talk about it yourself. Kyochi is not talking nonsense. Although Obito has a straight mind, the painstaking practice during this period is still fruitful, and he cooperated with Aoba and Lin of Yamashiro to delay Wooden Golem for a long time. Although they were all wiped out in the end, it was not their problem. Strong indeed by Wooden Golem. It's Kyochi who restrained Tailed Beast Chakra, and if she had Tailed Beast Chakra, Kyochi doubts the girl would even be able to use Tailed Beast mode with ease. The sealing technique of Cloud Shinobi Village stretches the gap, but it also makes it easier for the Tailed Beast to communicate with Jinchuriki. Once approved, the control of the power of the Tailed Beast can rise in a straight line. Killer Bee, by Wooden Golem have such signs, unfortunately. There is no possibility for Konoha to learn from this method. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara have offended Nine Tails too much, and there is no possibility of reconciliation with Konoha for the time being. After all, Kushina is not Naruto. She doesn't have the ability to escape with words, and the current Nine Tails has also not experienced the beating of reality, and is still living in the pride of the Tailed Beast. Fortunately, Konoha can't solve the Tailed Beast, but it can solve the person who uses the Tailed Beast. Even if it is completely turned into a Tailed Beast, the diamond chain can still seal it. This is also the strength of the Uzumaki family. Kyochi listened to them, and his mind wandered. No way. Listening to everyone's twittering and not being able to discuss the content is really easy to make people sleepy. It's not that they are not actively discussing, but that their thinking is limited. To deal with Cloud Shinobi, I think we can start with their ninjutsu and tactics. The same is true for Iwagakure, but Iwagakure's defense is too strong, so we are not easy to deal with. It's on point. Kyochi cheered up and followed the sound. Nara ellipse. Naras, no wonder. People in this family are very smart. Although this one is not as good as Shikamaru and Shikamaru, he is considered top-notch among genin. That's a good point, but you haven't considered one thing. We are improving, and the opponent is also improving. The current weakness does not mean that this tactic can be used in the future. Kyochi had to interrupt. Rigidly preset tactics in advance is really no choice. The best combat plan must be temporarily modified based on battlefield intelligence. Nara was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, yes, thank you Mr. Kyochi for your guidance. Shisui didn't think about it that much. His strengths are not in tactical planning, but in response to battles. There is nothing to mention in this regard. Kyochi sat here for a while, and reminded a few more words. I was going to disband. But, he got up and turned his head, and saw the bitter face of Fugaku in the distance, this old boy. What are you doing? Kyochi got up and walked over. Fugaku nodded, a small smile on his face. Mr. Kyochi, Mr. Hokage said earlier that after the Chunin exam, he will step down and elect a new Hokage. I don't know when the reorganization of the security department will actually take place. In addition, can some of these children be selected to join the guard? Genin will not consider it for now. Kyoshi frowned. He knew that Uchiha had previously transferred young ninjas into the guard. But that was only Uchiha before, and as a heritage, it can only be so. Now it is the whole Konoha. Choosing Genin basically consumed their potential. After hearing this, Fugaku nodded and said, "That's fine, we obey the village's arrangement, so what about us Uchiha clan?" Same. Kyoshi gets it. This guy's purpose is to make Uchiha's children enter the Jonin team normally like Obito and Shisui, but he said the previous words specially for this matter. Twist, Inc. Although this is a routine operation for players who play tricks, Kyoshi doesn't like it very much, so Tsunade took the position, and he set about sweeping out Mitokado Homura and Udatain Kaharu. Now more Fugaku. Fine. When Shisui grows up, it is reasonable to kick this guy down as soon as possible. Kyoshi was annoyed. But considering Black Zetsu and Madara, he thought for a while, moved closer to some reminders and said, "The reorganization of the guard is the key. Please pay more attention to Senior Fugaku. If you need help, please speak up." "Yes, I understand." Fugaku nodded. Kyoshi didn't say any more, went back to chat with Shisui and the others, then turned and left. According to his idea, those who are more dangerous opponents in the clan should find a way to arrest them, but Fugaku will not agree with this decision at all. There is a seam in the egg, so it's a chance to take advantage of it? Both Black Zetsu and Madara are good players at manipulating people's hearts. I am afraid that Uchiha will suffer a chaos next, and the chaos is not too far away. Have to prepare early. Kyoshi squinted his eyes and returned to Anbu's side after leaving the guards. Uchiha can be chaotic, but the guards and the research institute must not be chaotic, especially Anbu and the research institute's information about wood style. It must be strictly sealed to avoid being found by Black Zetsu. As for Uchiha, wait for the chaos for a lifetime, and then start to rectify it. He wasn't afraid that Madara and Black Zetsu would bewitch Uchiha and those people, but he was afraid that if they didn't do anything, it would make this rotten sore rotten, making it even more disgusting. But Kyoshi is almost certain that Madara is here to scout. Old stuff gets old. In addition, Nagato is now following Hanzo, and Madara has no way to crawl out of the ground. There is no toolman. In the future, Yahiko and Hanzo can only wait for Yahiko and Hanzo to die suddenly before they can bring Nagato back to their track. Shisui, Obito. Speaking of which, is it possible that Madara's target is Itachi? It suddenly occurred to Kyoshi that this might be possible. Itachi is less than 2 years old. This age is not difficult to take care of, and his thinking is immature, and he doesn't have his own ideas, which is equivalent to a blank sheet of paper. Compare. The current Obito is a bit crooked by his training. Although he is a lot stronger, his personality is a little more mature, and the probability of being fooled is greatly reduced. It may be a headache for Madara to take him away. Furthermore, Madara didn't stare at Obito from the beginning, and in the original book, it was just a matter of attention and coincidence. If he was Madara, at this point in time, he may be more interested in Itachi. If you're less than 2 years old, can you really see talent? Kyoshi doesn't quite understand. The abilities of Madara and Black Zetsu are difficult for ordinary people to fathom, but generally speaking, the children born to a talent like Fugaku are not much worse. Even Sasuke. Except for some problems with Sharingan, other aspects of talent are not bad. Certainly, there's really no comparison to a ferret. But this is not Sasuke's problem, but Itachi's talent is too outrageous. If Madara's target is Itachi, Kyoshi wondered how to avoid this result, but after thinking about it, it seemed that there was no good way, because he couldn't tell the news that Madara was still alive. There is no evidence at all. Speaking out, Uchiha probably thought that Konoha was just looking for trouble, and after getting the power of the guard, he used the old score to solve some problems in their clan. Not only Uchiha will be disgusted by such a meddling in a family, but other families will also have ideas. After thinking about it, I can only think of a way from within Uchiha. The next day, Kyoshi took advantage of the team's rest and brought Shisui, Asuma, and Kurenai together. During this period of time, Yuhihong has been helping and studying in the hospital, and her physical and illusion skills have not improved much, but some knowledge gaps in medical ninjutsu have been filled. Medical ninjutsu is also more adept. Kyoshi gave some pointers, and assigned training tasks to Asuma, and then walked alone with Shisui to a relatively secluded place. "Teacher, do you have something to tell me?" "That's not true, it's just that I've been busy with the Chunin exam, so I don't have much time to talk to you about the situation of the Uchiha family. What do you think of the current situation of your family?" Kiyoshi patted the ground, motioning for him to sit down and relax. Shisui nodded, and sat down across from him. This question. He didn't know how to answer. After sorting out his thoughts, Shisui said, I don't think it's very good. Although the Fugaku Patriarch had a showdown with the old faction and revoked their rights, there are not many people in the old faction in the clan. Future trouble. There are future troubles, have they taken any action? Kiyoshi didn't deny it. Fugaku typically wants everything. Result. In the end, you often get nothing. Instead, it is better to cut the mess quickly at the beginning and deal with the matter in one step. Shisui thought for a while, then shook his head and said, I don't know, I've been busy with the Chunin exam recently, and Daohuo and Tio are gradually getting closer to the Fugaku Patriarch now. Well. Kiyoshi narrowed his eyes, which was to be expected. Shisui was only 6 years old after all. No amount of genius is greater than the identity of the Patriarch, especially now that Fugaku has begun to absorb some of Shisui's ideas, carry out drastic reforms on the Uchiha clan, and personally teach Shisui, as if training him to be the next generation heir. It is normal for those people to attach themselves. Only. Fugaku is so active in doing these things, but he never thought of being more ruthless to the older generation, which is a bit outrageous. Shisui sighed. Teacher, I have come to understand some of your words more deeply recently. You are so right. As a leader, you need not only means and decisiveness, but also certain strength. Without strength, others can give up on him at any time. Like rice fire they are so. But, the only thing that comforts Shisui is that Obito still agrees and encourages him like a fool, but the helpless thing is that Obito doesn't seem to have any feelings about the changes in the clan. The guy's recognition of Uchiha is probably only his relatives and Sharingan. Shisui felt emotional. A slight smile appeared on Kiyoshi's face. Having done it once, Shisui has really grown, and he is now developing into a qualified Uchiha Patriarch, and is less likely to be fooled by Uchiha Madara. So, as a disciple, the probability of becoming Madara's target is almost zero. Obito and Itachi are possible. The former can be perfectly utilized as long as he has washed his brain and awakened him with a wave of operations, while the latter can instill his own thinking from an early age. Each has its own advantages. He thought for a moment, and said to Shisui, how is Fugaku's child? Is it Itachi? Very smart, but also very hard. The Fugaku Patriarch has very high requirements, and he has been treated very harshly since he was just over 1 year old. Shisui feels sorry for Itachi. From his point of view, Fugaku is not a good patriarch, nor a good father at the same time. He has no idea what Itachi needs, only his own pursuit in his mind. Then you might as well get closer to him, and teach him some knowledge while training and instructing him. Kiyoshi said. It was the only way he could think of. It can have a certain effect, but it will not arouse the fear of Uchiha and other families, thinking that Konoha is intervening in the internal affairs of the family. Shisui was stunned for a long time after hearing this. Teacher, this is asking me to change Itachi's mind? It's not for you to directly change his mind, but to teach him knowledge, so that he has the ability to understand right from wrong. He is almost 2 years old now, and if he is smart, he can start learning. Kiyoshi thought that Fugaku would applaud Shisui for doing this. After all, according to the original trajectory, Itachi was taken to the battlefield by Fugaku to see the blood when he was 4 years old. He directly made the child suspicious of life and wanted to commit suicide at one time. It was a beast-level operation. Teaching him to distinguish right from wrong in advance is absolutely beneficial and harmless. Shisui was ashamed. He thought that Kiyoshi wanted him to brainwash Itachi to make Itachi agree with his thoughts, and he hesitated for a while whether to do it, but the result. It turned out to be a misunderstanding. Yes, I understand what you mean, teaching Itachi knowledge. In fact, Makoto Ant is already doing these things now, and it is said that the Fugaku Patriarch will take them personally. If I help them, they should not object. Don't teach him to think, remember. Kiyoshi looked serious. If Shisui were to teach Itachi the will of fire, at this time, Itachi wouldn't understand it, and he would be exposed to Fugaku, Black Zetsu, and Madara, and his situation would be even more dangerous. Shisui nodded in understanding. Then, he also went to training. The ninjas from the outer villages have left one after another, and the genins from Konoha are no longer training in the guard. It's not that they won't be allowed in. Fugaku ordered that any ninja who registers their name can come to their guard's field for training, and the guard will not stop them. This is a brilliant move. However, the consequences of his not being thorough with those elders are also shown here. Some diehards are rat shit, and a good pot of rice will rot if they are mixed. Those Uchiha tribesmen who murmur secretly and roll their eyes are exactly such existences. As long as those people are there, everyone will not really feel Uchiha's closeness to the people, and will only feel that Uchiha is not easy to get along with. In the afternoon, Kyochi announced the disbandment and practiced separately. Result. Back in the village, I saw the beautiful scenery again. Might Guy took the lead, followed by Obito, Gang ZT and others. At this moment, they are different from before. Although Obito and Gang ZT practiced with Guy before, they have always resisted the ugly green tights, especially Obito, who almost cast a shadow after wearing it once. But now they are probably wearing green clothes, sweating heartily on the streets of Konoha, not caring about others' opinions at all. This is also a kind of progress. But there is always a feeling that I have done something wrong. Without the words I praised Guy. I guess these people couldn't make up their minds so quickly to put on this embarrassing ultimate costume. Kyochi couldn't help but sigh. In the future, Konoha's painting style will probably become more and more distorted. He shook his head and went to the old place, Ichiraku Ramen. He went to sit down at the noodle shop, and saw a familiar person. He couldn't help being stunned for a few seconds, and then said in surprise, "Why did you come to Konoha, with Yahiko?" "No, I didn't even notice you at the time." "Haha, I didn't come with Yahiko, the teacher asked me to come." Conan covered his mouth and smiled. "Jiraiya?" Kyochi really didn't expect that after leaving Konoha, that guy actually went to find Conan and Nagato. The key is, Hanzo didn't stop. He wandered for a while, then came back to his senses and asked, "What did Jiraiya ask you to do?" "You pointed us to unite with Shinobi Village, which is quite effective now, but there are also many problems, one of which is education. As you know, the education in our range Shinobi Village is not very good, so Mr. Jiraiya asked me to visit Konoha study." Conan said. The corner of Kyochi's mouth twitched. This guy will be generous to others. Study tours? To put it bluntly, many of them are confidential now, and just after he announced the paid guidance, a free prostitute came. "Does it fit?" "Your ramen. Thanks." Conan gratefully accepts. Subsequently, she said to Kyochi, "The teacher said you often come to Ichiraku noodle shop, so let me wait here, but I didn't expect to come." "Have you seen Yahiko yet?" "See, well, I know what you mean, the cost is not a problem." Conan is rich and powerful. Those small countries have no tolerance, but none of them are poor. They just lack the ranks of promotion. In some countries, they even spent a lot of money to support the useless wandering ninjas who ran over from the country of Chuanuo. Compare. As long as there is an opportunity to build a ninja village, what is the money for? That's good. It's not good to break the rules right away after they are established. Cough, let's eat noodles first. After eating, I'll take you to meet Master Tsunade, and we'll talk about it later. Kyochi couldn't help smiling when he said this. It's a coincidence that you came here. Master Tsunade will succeed in a few days. You can witness our Konoha change. Really? Isn't she the first female shadow in the ninja world? Conan was going to start with his chopsticks. As a result, when I heard this, I suddenly became interested again, and I didn't even want to eat noodles. Female Hokage. Unprecedented. Although Conan's heart is indifferent, he can't help feeling a little yearning at this time. Female shadow. So good. Hey, Tsunade-sama is well known in Konoha, and we are all very happy that she will succeed us. Kyochi hasn't said yet. Hand typed while pulling noodles while interjecting. His admiration for Tsunade is obviously also from the heart. It's not you, and Tsunade refused to help you back then. Why are you excited? Kyochi couldn't help but joke. What do you know, this is the first female ninja shadow, although I'm not interested in the position of leader, but this is a historic moment, of course we must be excited. Conan rolled his eyes. Yahiko is not dead, Nagato is not disabled, and their life is much better than before, so Conan's smile is much more than Kyochi's impression. To be honest, it looks good when you smile, but Kyochi didn't look at it much. After all, it's rude to stare at a lady for dinner. He's not as thick-skinned as Kakashi's kind of above-board shopping with art novels. When the ramen came, he started it immediately, and then, after eating here, Conan was still slowly tasting the soup, and when he saw him stop, he blushed slightly and said, "Sorry, Konoha's ramen is so delicious. Hand cooking is a must, and it's rare in Konoha." "Ha ha ha, Kyochi, you are too polite. Come here often if you like. Next time I will make something different for you." Slapping his hands and laughing, he didn't argue. In ramen, he is still a little confident, even his junior brother is by no means his opponent. "Yes, thank you very much." Conan hastily thanked him. No wonder Kyochi likes to eat ramen, it's delicious and inexpensive, and she feels like she can never get tired of eating it. Pity. There are no ramen shops in Rain Shinobi Village at all. She looked out enviously. The sky in Konoha is blue, the wind is sunny, and the rain is just right all year round, unlike Rain Shinobi Village. It rains every day. After leaving the store, Kyochi asked again, "How is Jiraiya doing?" The teacher happened to meet us, and he didn't stay in the country of rain for long. Conan said. Coincidence? Oh. Do you believe it? There is no such a coincidence. That guy is obviously thick-skinned, but sometimes he is very awkward and refuses to express his heart directly. Kyoshi curled his lips. Before leaving the village, he even asked himself to drink, saying that he was afraid to meet them and so on. The results of it? Just go and say it was a chance encounter. Conan pursed his lips and smiled lightly, with a look of reminiscence on his face. After a few seconds, he said, the teacher is just not good at words, but we all understand. What has he been up to lately? I seem to be writing a book. I have written a lot of manuscripts, but I keep changing the beginning. The teacher told me that I want to write a passionate novel about persistence and hard work. Conan smiled when he said this. Obviously Jiraiya frantically modified the beginning, which left a deep impression on her. And he must be crazy, right? Thinking of this, Kyoshi couldn't help complaining. His experience is not suitable for writing such a novel that can be successful through persistence and hard work. He should write something artistic. Art? The teacher doesn't seem to know anything about art, but he always said that he has achieved today's strength entirely through hard work and persistence. Conan looked at Kyoshi puzzled. Kyoshi seems to have a good relationship with the teacher. Why does it sound like the teacher complaining about Orochimaru? Indeed, according to what Ms. Tsunade said, he learned the summoning technique back then used it indiscriminately, reversed summoning himself into Mount Myoboku, and practiced hard at Mount Myoboku to get to where he is today. Kyoshi paused when he said this. What kind of thing does this depend entirely on hard work and persistence? Sensei didn't mention this. What is Mount Myoboku? One of the 3 holy places, each of which has a legacy of immortality. Kyoshi explained briefly. Conan fell silent. This kind of luck is obviously not explained by hard work and persistence alone. After hearing this, she felt a sense of disillusionment. This kind of luck, to be honest, I am very sour. Of course, my luck is also good. There are many Senju collection books brought by my grandmother at home. I have accumulated a lot of knowledge by relying on them, and my blood seems to be okay. Kyoshi shrugged at this point. Conan's eyes twitched. This guy. He is so strong that he has forgotten that he is actually only 17 or 18 years old, and he is not even 20 years old, even younger than her. Obviously very mature. But sometimes he said something that made people want to beat him up. The problem is, she still can't beat it. Even more angry. She walked forward silently. Speaking of this, it's not that persistence and hard work can't succeed, but to tell you that there are reasons behind success, which are far beyond what hard work and persistence can explain. After Kyoshi Versailles ended, she said to her seriously, if you think that persistence and hard work will make you successful, as an educator, you will fail. What's the meaning? Conan didn't quite understand. Let me take you around for a while, take a look on the way, and tell me about it, and you'll know. Kyoshi didn't say much. He really didn't expect Conan to develop his interest in education, but since he is interested, he will talk more about it, so that he can get a few better skills from others. He took Conan out of the village. Conan was puzzled at first, but soon, she saw the beautiful landscape. A group of people in green clothes are running upside down. What is this doing? Physical exercise. Is it necessary to do this? Effort and persistence are the qualities that everyone can possess, but even if you work hard and persist, you may not be able to succeed. You have to go in the right direction. Are these people the most suitable for gymnastics? Conan was a little curious. Not all of them, but taijutsu is the foundation of everything. It is definitely right to be stronger. When it is stronger to a certain extent, I would suggest some people to put their focus back on ninjutsu practice. Kyoshi explained. Conan heard this, nodded thoughtfully, and then a piece of paper flew out. She took out a brush and began to write, and after finishing writing, the paper flew into her sleeve again. Origami is so easy. Effort and persistence are necessary, but in addition to these, as a teacher, you have to guide according to the direction that everyone is good at. Is that what you mean? Right. Conan writes as he talks. After finishing writing, she saw the group of children in green clothes yelling in unison, 200 laps upside down. If you don't succeed, she couldn't hear clearly afterward. But this is obviously a weird kind of training that pushes oneself to the limit. She was surprised. This kind of practice can no longer be described as hard work, but crazy. I might as well tell you that they are practicing a special kind of physical skill, and this kind of physical skill may be difficult to master except for the one who takes the lead in the end. Is it because of talent? Focus. He's focused enough. In fact, he can learn ninjutsu. His talent is a bit weaker, but it's not impossible, but he still doesn't know anything except 3-body technique. Summoning technique, that was later. The current guy really only knows 3-body technique. To be precise, only a little body replacement technique. Clone technique and transformation technique are very hip-stretching, which is not much different from none. Conan fell silent after hearing this. There are shortcuts to ninjutsu practice. As long as Jonin explains some techniques, gives more guidance and training, it is not difficult to master a kind of nature transformation. But there are no shortcuts in the practice of body arts. If you want to become stronger, you have to sweat and bleed, so there are not many physical masters. This young man with thick eyebrows in green clothes can block the temptation and focus on physical skills, which is really remarkable. Not talent, but better than talent. She couldn't help feeling a burst of emotion in her heart. Konoha is so powerful, there are still so many people cultivating desperately, and there is no way to find a way. In contrast, Rain Shinobi Village. Weak and weak, but they all look forward to being rescued by others. That way of thinking is wrong. You seem to have gained something. Because Kyochi heard the beep. Well, I understand the reason why Konoha was able to fight against so many countries in this war. You are strong but always enterprising. The atmosphere in the village is very positive, and Rain Shinobi Village is hard to describe. Conan sighed. Kyochi knows. That kind of situation is bad. After all, before Kyochi introduced Yahiko to Hanzo, Hanzo himself was in a state of infinite failure, and the leader was in this situation, let alone the subordinates. How can the atmosphere be good if it works from top to bottom? You already understand the importance of the atmosphere, so when you go back, the first thing you have to do is to improve the atmosphere, gather a group of motivated students, give them enough resources, and cultivate them as a benchmark. Kyochi said. The fast and slow shift system, it doesn't matter if you sell it once and give it away for free. Of course, the main reason is that this thing is easy to use and has strong applicability. A situation like Rain Shinobi Village would be a good fit. Concentrate resources. Yes, you are now helping others to build villages and teach, so organizing a group of elites is more important than having a group of stronger genin. There is also this saying. Thinking about it carefully, it seems to be true. Conan quickly jotted down the words, it's so important. Fortunately, the teacher instructed me to come to Konoha, and it happened that Kyochi was selling tutorials, otherwise it would be impossible to get so many pointers. Certainly. She knew very well that it was impossible for Kyochi to speak so carefully to other people, and there was no charge for teaching Yahiko or even helping Yahiko pull Sanagakure before. He is not a greedy person at all, he only collects money because of the rules and regulations of the village. Conan was grateful from the bottom of his heart. She writes this down and wants to ask again, but Kyochi stretches. Let's do this today first. Tomorrow, I will take you to the ninja school for an internship. Pick a few students and show them to you. You can feel it yourself. This. Isn't that good? Conan stammered. Be a teacher? She is not ready yet. It's nothing bad. Your strength is at least a special jonin. It's enough to be their teacher. Be confident. There are many things that you can't just talk and listen to. You have to feel it yourself. Yes, I understand, then I will trouble you. No trouble. There is just a shortage of teachers. Originally there was no shortage, but recently recruited new students, and many chunin are cleaning up the accumulated tasks, and many are busy with Hokage's succession, so there will inevitably be vacancies. When Conan thought about the class tomorrow, she was very nervous and her hands were cold. She walked with Kyochi, and it took a while to realize. What is she doing? Kyochi is going home. Is it possible that she will also live in someone's house? Conan blushed slightly, and said, Kyochi, then I won't bother you. Go back and think about what to teach tomorrow. Is there a place to live? If it's a hotel, why not stay at my place? The hotel may be full recently, and there are still a lot of vacant rooms at my place, and you may have to stay for a while. It's Ms. Tsunade and one of her nieces, and the other is an adopted orphan, separated from where I live. I didn't mean that. Then let's go. Kyochi didn't give Conan a chance to say no because they were already home. Knocked on the door, Shizune ran to open the door. Master Kyochi. Who is this? Conan, Rain Shinobi Village sent Konoha to exchange and study, and stay at our house temporarily. Yes, I'll arrange it right away. Kyochi's house is not that big in Konoha, it can only be said that it is enough for a family. The reason why it is so empty now is because of the war. Conan is stiff. Yahiko and Nagato are family members, but Kyochi is obviously not in this category. It is the first time to live in a stranger's house. But Kyochi found a few topics, and after opening up the conversation, Conan quickly became acquainted and no longer nervous. She is not very talkative. But he also doesn't have much wariness against Kyochi, and he answers all questions with sincerity. If Kyochi wants to obtain information about the Land of Rain, he probably has already obtained it by now. Certainly, it's useless for him to want that thing. The Land of Rain is too small, and the environment is very special. You can only see the sun for a short time in a year, and the rest of the time is full of rain. Thanks to this, Rain Shinobi Village has a big lake. And even the northern part of the country of Kawa was flooded, and there were basically no nobles living in the northern part. That's why Kyochi suggested that they help Kawa no Kuni build a ninja village in the north. While chatting casually, Kyochi mentioned the school in Rain Shinobi Village. What was your old school like? Before. In the school before Rain Shinobi Village, there is actually not much difference between whether there is one or not. Basically, after a period of teaching, they are sent to the battlefield. Conan replied. Kyochi nodded knowingly. Such a pattern. It's all wild ways to teach, but it's not that there is no way to produce elites. It can only be said that the relative probability is relatively low, and there is a sense of sight that depends on the strength of the upgraded. No way, this is a small village, and there are too few people in Rain Shinobi Village. Now we need to expand because the surrounding small countries have sent people to Rain Shinobi Village to study. Mainly because Hanzo sees hope. Kyochi followed Conan's words. Conan pondered for a moment, nodded and said, Yahiko has said similar things. Master Hanzo has his own pursuit, but the previous path was wrong, so he is very desperate. Despair is because you can't see the future. Hanzo is the central figure in the Second Ninja War. A Rain Shinobi Village hanged many ninjas in Iwagakure, Sanagakure, and Konoha Village, and the whole West became a mess because of him. The price is, the Kingdom of Rain was completely abolished. What about big countries? The weakest Sanagakure all recovered within a few years. Because the big country is rich enough, and the country of Rain is very poor, they can't afford to fight. Hanzo was beaten and understood, he is not strong enough to compete against the background of a great power. As for Yahiko, if it wasn't for Kyochi's involvement, just like Yahiko's messing around, even without Danzo's intervention, there would still be a fierce conflict between Akatsuki and Rain Country. Conan obviously understood too. After returning to Rain Shinobi Village from a wandering, discreet state, their positions changed and they saw many things that they could not see before. She sighed. Even now, I can only say that thanks to you and Konoha's help, otherwise this small village alliance would not be able to be formed at all. I support you, not without a price. Kyochi didn't hide his attitude. Conan also understood, and said sternly, you are Konoha's Jonin, of course you have to consider Konoha, and you have helped us enough. Rain Shinobi Village can only rely on your guidance. Everyone takes what they need, just casual chatting, no need to use honorifics. Kyochi wanted to say that he was not as old as Conan. But age is a taboo for women, and Conan is no exception. Kyochi didn't talk about it later. Regarding education, it is not too late to talk about it tomorrow. We're halfway through the conversation. Geely came back, and when he entered the door, he saw a beautiful woman with light blue-purple hair. He was stunned for a moment, and then realized when he saw the forehead protector. This is from another village. Rain Shinobi Village. The previous Yahiko seems to belong to Rain Shinobi Village, and Kyochi mentioned before that another descendant of the Uzumaki family seems to be Rain Shinobi. Is it a gang? Geely was a little curious. To be frank, after leaving Uzumaki Village, she didn't have a strong sense of belonging to the Uzumaki clan. Instead, she was always targeted because of her hair color, and in the end she had to live in Kusanagi Village. And in Konoha. Anbu doesn't look at her real identity, just relying on her codename. She gets along very well with her teammates. Recently, she is learning the sealing technique, and she easily surpassed many people in the sealing class. Therefore, she has no intention of leaving Konoha. Even if she had some guesses, she was just curious, without much thought, and went back to her room after saluting. With outsiders around, she was worried that her transformation technique would be seen through. She seems to be. Conan pondered for a moment, and didn't say any more. This girl should have used the transformation technique. But considering the strength of Kyochi and Tsunade, she felt that they must know, so she didn't go on. When Ori comes back, Tsunade will be there soon. She is now Tsunade's guard. Although her strength is not very good, her strong perception alone is enough for such a position. Tsunade therefore also thinks highly of her. Basically, Oriri's return meant that Tsunade was also nearby, and he decided to stop secretly at some wine shop. Kyochi shook his head. Really? After a while, Tsunade came back from outside. Kyochi, where did you go today? Anbu left everything to Shao. Life is more comfortable than mine. Miss Tsunade, have you been drinking? No. Forget it. Hey, you're the girl Jiraiya saved in Rain Shinobi Village, right? Tsunade grumbled after entering the door, throwing away his robes so uncomfortable. But Conan just looked at it. Tsunadeheim. Hokage, the first female ninja. That's it. Looks like he's had a drink too. The idol was broken again. The corners of her mouth twitched, but she still bowed deeply and said, Master Tsunade, my name is Conan. This time I come to Konoha to learn ninja education on behalf of Rain Shinobi Village. Oh, that Jiraiya guy said that. Tsunade sat down grinningly, with his hands on the table, looked at Conan, and then a smile appeared on his face. Jiraiya is really lucky. That's right, Jiraiya and Conan shamelessly said that he had to work hard to get to where he is today. According to me, his luck is also the best. Isn't it? I used the summoning technique indiscriminately, and summoned myself to Mount Myoboku. The whole ninja world is unique. At that time, we all thought he was dead. Tsunade thinks so. Dismantling old friends, this kind of thing everyone likes to do most. Certainly. They were all telling the truth. Conan didn't know what to say after hearing this. He was nervous about talking about the black history of the teacher, but also a little excited. This kind of past, Jiraiya really didn't mention it to them. How about succession preparations? Don't mention it. When you take that old woman somewhere else, it's really annoying to see her. Tsunade cursed. Conan is here. Tsunade didn't elaborate, but Kyoshi can guess that it must be Utate and Kaharu. I said the succession should be simple, just call everyone over to witness it, but they want to hold a bunch of ceremonies, which is extremely troublesome. It's not a war right now. If it can be done better, it's only once in a lifetime. Tsunade found it strange to say that. But, generally speaking, the Hokage ceremony is really once in a lifetime. But she still couldn't help complaining. While talking, he patted the table. The scene was really shocking. Man. Have a drink and head on. Fortunately, most of them here are their own people. Kyoshi stroked his forehead and glanced at Conan, feeling a little pity. In just one day, the images of her two idols were completely shattered. This feeling must be very cool, right? Conan naturally noticed. She was speechless for a long time, until Tsunade was urged by Kyoshi to wash up. Then she came back to herself and muttered to herself. I know it will be different outside and at home, but this is too outrageous. You mean outside the village? Shizune couldn't help but cut in. Conan nodded. Then you must have a good rest and never go to places like casinos, otherwise you won't have this illusion. Shizune was catching the water, spitting relentlessly. And Conan. She froze for a few seconds, looked at Kyoshi and said, Casino? Nothing. Tsunade is a legend in casinos. There used to be only one legend, now there are two. Casino legend? After hearing this, Conan couldn't help imagining it, and then said with emotion, I'm so envious. A powerful ninja can leave his own legend in any field. I'm going to water it. Shizune couldn't hold back. She was afraid she would laugh if she stayed, but that's not good, especially in front of outsiders, so. Let's go. Kyoshi didn't know how to answer, and Conan's sigh made him unable to fix it. This legend. Not that kind of meaning. But Conan seems to be wrong. He thought about it for a while, and instead of breaking it, he nodded, changed the subject, and said something nice about Tsunade. Take what Kyoshi knows about Tsunade. After she finished washing, she would definitely come out to play cards with Conan. Every time she saw someone new, she wanted to gamble. However, never won. For example, Ori. Her luck is already considered bad, and she basically wins less and loses more when gambling with other people. But when she meets Tsunade, she is possessed by good luck in an instant, which is very metaphysical. Really. After Tsunade washed up, the smell of alcohol in his mouth became much better, and he felt more refreshed. When you come out, the first thing you do is swing. Soon, Conan won a game. After a few rounds, Conan fell into deep thought, recalling Shizune's strange expression before watering him, and soon realized that he might have misunderstood the legend. This thing is not necessarily positive, it may be negative. She doesn't know how to gamble at all, and she can win consecutively. Too weird. The key is, people are still addicted to vegetables. Obviously he lost badly, but he still enjoys it and continues to gamble. Look at Tsunade-sama's expression. No way. Does she think she can win? Kyoshi came out of the study to pour water, and couldn't hold back his laughter when he saw this scene. Every time he meets a newcomer who can't play, Tsunade is very excited, but every time he loses miserably, while the other party is also confused and suspicious of life. This kind of scene. It's a bit classic. Have fun, oh, no more fun. Satisfied, Tsunade throws away the betting money with joy and heartache, while Conan takes the money in a mess. This money. It was too easy to win. This is gambling? Tsunade had a blast. She hasn't touched a card for more than 10 days, and every time she passes by the casino, her hands feel itchy, but unfortunately, as the next generation of Hokage, she has to maintain a certain image. Certainly. The point is, Konoha's casino dare not keep her. They all know that Tsunade can't win money. As Hokage, it's not easy to owe debts. Even if they owe debts, they dare not ask for it. So, with Kyochi's persuasion, they decide not to do Tsunade's business. Only Tsunade is so easy to win, and it is very difficult for others. This little money will be considered as a gift from her. This is quite strange. Conan obviously couldn't understand something so metaphysical. Gamble, is there really someone so unlucky that they keep losing? Impossible. And, it's too strange why Tsunade still looks satisfied after losing the money. Conan was lost in thought. Go to bed early, I have to go to school tomorrow. The guest room Shizune should be ready, you can just find her. Wait a minute, one last question. Conan is serious. Kyochi stopped looking at her. What is the legend of Tsunade-sama? Oh, it's really nothing. The first one is the legendary big fat sheep, and the second one is the legendary princess Andy 1000. Second title. Or broke out in the last 1 or 2 years. According to Shizune, in order to pay off the debt, Tsunade basically walked in reverse, disguised with transformation technique, and visited all the previous casinos. With the help of the ninja's ability, I really caught a lot of tricksters. Even a casino has problems. At that time, she earned a lot of money and had some savings in her pocket. Shizune's life was much easier, and she didn't have to worry about livelihood issues. After hearing this, Conan didn't know what to say for a while. It is indeed a casino legend. No wonder the word gambling is embroidered on the clothes, which looks quite proud. Early the next morning, when Kyochi woke up, he smelled a strong fragrance. Ever since Geely started to learn the sealing technique and Shizune studied poison, no one went to the kitchen for a long time. Today this is. He went over to have a look. Conan is wearing an apron, steaming breakfast inside. Are you awake? It's almost ready. Let's go together after breakfast. She smiled sweetly. Kyochi is ashamed and asks guests to cook. This is also the first time. Behind him, Geely stuck out his head, took a careful look, and said, I will definitely do it tomorrow. Everyone is busy, in fact, going out to eat or a bingliang pill will do. Kyochi shakes his head. It's just breakfast, nothing. Alright. It is indeed a very happy thing to have a prepared breakfast just after waking up. Especially after smelling the fragrance. Master Kyochi, what you said is nothing. If you have the ability, eat bingliang now. Shizune washed his hands and came back. When Conan was doing it, she was a helper, so she was confident. Kyochi was powerless to refute. Freeloaders have no room for refinement. It's not very delicious. It's just some simple and convenient breakfasts that I often make. I also prepared some rice balls. If you are busy, you can bring some, and you can eat them as soon as they are hot. Conan brings things out. They are indeed very ordinary, classic home-cooked food, and Tsunade has finished washing at this time. After thanking each other, everyone started working together. Began to eat. Tsunade probably felt that the image was damaged too much last night, and wanted to save it today, but after eating slowly, he found that Kyochi and the others ate so quickly that they almost ran out of food. Then, she also accelerated, but it's okay. Conan is already fully prepared, and the fact that others eat well is the greatest recognition for the chef. She smiled sweetly. After dinner, everyone went out separately. The children who graduated during the war were very miserable. They were only 11 or 12 years old, but one of them was going to practice in a hospital, and the other was going to practice in Anbu. And myself. At the age of 17 or 18, he is now busy with the village's plans. Alas. Kyochi and Conan were walking down the street. Their thoughts were mixed, until they passed a gambling house on the street. Is this a casino? Yeah, you won Tsunade a few times, so you just want to gamble and win money? Kyochi looked wary. Conan is such a good child. If Tsunade takes him to be a gambler, Nagato will be angry and get Konoha to carry rice. That's not true. I just want to know if there is anyone who can keep losing. In short, bets must not be touched, Kyochi said seriously. He didn't want to try the power of the Rinnegan. Moreover, why do you gamble? Making a detonating talisman, isn't it faster than getting money here? So good craftsmanship does not make detonators. Blind for nothing. Conan nodded, but remembered the name of the casino. She then followed Kyochi all the way to the Konoha Shinobi School. It's a big school, and there is a separate training ground. Our Rain Shinobi Village training ground is only a little big, just big enough to throw kunai. Conan couldn't help but sigh. Omura's financial resources are different, much more luxurious than Rain Shinobi Village. The training ground is a must, and the training ground should be placed in a position that can be seen in the teaching building. Why? Conan didn't quite understand. Does it matter? It is conducive to the formation of a competitive atmosphere. Think about it, if someone has better grades than you, but insists on running and practicing every day, how would you feel? Kyochi said, pointing to the students exercising on the training ground. In the lead are Anko, Haifeng, and Ibixi. The 3 of them are the first to come every time. At first there were only 3 of them, but gradually there were more of them. Now the whole class comes to exercise in the morning. You did it? Yes, I asked them to do this, and it turns out that it works pretty well. When students don't want to suffer, don't you know how to endure hardship and work hard until you become a ninja and finish pitting your teammates? Not everyone is a prince. The volume is over. Conan watched the training ground quietly, and had already imagined the image of Rain Shinobi Village. Perhaps, really useful. A little tip every day. She took out a pen and paper and wrote it down again. Kyoshi took a few steps forward. Conan saw a different small classroom. There were only a dozen people here, and it seemed that they were genin who had obtained a forehead protector and became a ninja. She asked puzzledly, "What are these?" Chunin's sprint class was understaffed during the war years. Many children graduated early. In fact, many of them did not receive complete knowledge training. This class is prepared for them. Kyoshi said. After hearing this, Conan thought for a moment and then nodded heavily. It works. But, she noticed that next door, another classroom was vacant. What's next door? Chunin's special training class. Huh? Is there a difference? Conan was at a loss. Is ninja education so complicated? Kyoshi explained. There are many people who should be able to pass the exam and become Chunin, but they are not qualified to become Chunin in some aspects, so they can be specially trained. I see. What good is this? Conan didn't quite understand. Chunin is the backbone of every village. Letting them learn seems to be a bit of a waste of time. After all, no matter how much learning, it seems that it is not as fast as a task and a serious battle. I let the special training class guide the sprint class, and let the sprint class guide the lower grade students. The advantage of this is that you can organize your own thoughts while teaching others, and exercise guidance and command thinking. Kyoshi explained. Conan's eyes lit up after hearing this, and he couldn't help but exclaimed, "Can you still share the work of many teachers?" Right. It's amazing, I can think of this. A way to help them. Conan was going to say, squeeze, but, thinking that he might become such a devil after returning home, he changed his tune immediately. This is helping them. Hey, it's actually really helpful. Of course, as a jonin in this process, you have to observe who is suitable to be the team leader and who is not. Guy, you know. Kyoshi said and mentioned Might Guy. The reason for mentioning him is simple. Special and impressive. Yesterday's green team captain. That's right, he is indeed the leader, but in fact, his ninjutsu performance was very poor at first, and he couldn't become a student of the ninja school for a while. Odd this. Conan couldn't believe it. The kid who almost couldn't be a ninja is now the leader of a group of genin, and those genin are not bad. He graduated early at the age of 7. Although he is terrible at ninjutsu, he has his own guiding logic and always speaks positive words. Even if there is a big setback, he will not be discouraged. Conan seemed to understand. She thought for a long time and said, "No wonder you said that the teacher doesn't understand what is real persistence and hard work. There are really people in the world who become successful through hard work and persistence. I think Jiraiya should find realistic examples instead of thinking about how to start the story. If I meet a teacher, I will convey it." To get back to the topic, in addition to persistence and hard work, Guy's leadership ability is not bad. He has the opportunity to become the elite jonin who leads the team in the future. Kyoshi said. Conan nodded after hearing this, expressing his understanding. The process of explaining is actually to express her own understanding, which is not easy, especially since she was preparing for the lesson late yesterday, thinking about what to say. So, she could understand what Kyoshi meant. Teaching also requires a certain talent. Some people know it themselves, but they may not be able to teach others. Take Nagato for example. Make him a teacher. She is a little unimaginable. Kyoshi led her around and finally entered the Chunin sprint class. Conan couldn't help swallowing. Are you going to let me try these students? They are all genin, with teachers leading the team. If I speak poorly, isn't it over? Believe in your own abilities. As for what to teach, you can do whatever you want. There is no need to talk about particularly esoteric content or specific ninjutsu. It can be a kind of thinking, or it can be a kind of tactical guidance. But, Conan wants to cry but has no tears. She never brought genin in Rain Shinobi Village, let her bring so many genin. It's too much. Believe in yourself. In fact, genin is simpler. They know what they lack, but many children don't know their strengths at all, and they don't understand what they lack. That is the most difficult thing. Kyoshi continued to comfort while walking into the classroom first. The audience fell silent. She is Teacher Conan, and she will teach you today. Hey everyone, my name is Conan, and I'm a ninja from Rain Shinobi Village. Yes, welcome Teacher Conan. A group of people saluted obediently, and then sat there quietly, not daring to make a sound. The atmosphere was terribly quiet, and Conan turned pale. What's going on? She was a little uneasy, but Kyochi knew the nature of these people. After all, he was also a student. These people were not unhappy, but because they were here and didn't know how to deal with it for a while. After all, most of these people were genin who failed to make it to the third lap in this exam. Or just a bastard. Kyochi glanced around, and said, it is impossible for everyone to pass the Chunin exam. In this model, strength is a part, and luck is also a part. Of course, some who have passed will be caught by me, and I will reflect on myself. Some bowed their heads. Although these people pass the test and are eligible to become Chunin, everyone knows how to pass. Pure bastard. Like K and U, they basically came here lying down. In terms of ability, they have not reached the level of Chunin, so they have to come back and train again to make up for their own shortcomings. The previous training was just a stopgap measure. Certainly. They will be sent to the Chunin special training class in turn, they just don't have the right teacher right now. Everyone was relieved to hear Kyochi's judgment. Conan, you are teaching here, and I have something to do over there. This? Conan was dumbfounded. That leaves her here. Kyochi gave an encouraging look, and then quickly slipped away. Conan went straight to the woods. Looking at the dozen or so students below, she couldn't help but take a deep breath. More than 10, think of them as rain shinobi. After Kyochi left, after a long time, the classroom became lively in an instant. Mr. Conan, are you a ninja from Rain Shinobi Village? How did you meet Mr. Kyochi? Can you share? I really want to hear it. Female teacher. It's from Rain Shinobi Village, and it looks like Conan knows Kyochi. Everyone has the heart of 8 trigrams. What's more, these children, Kyochi taught them to be honest, but when they met Conan who seemed gentle and easy to talk. That's different. I came here from Rain Shinobi Village for exchange and study, and Kyochi-kun is responsible for the contact. Although I have not been a jonin for a long time, I will work hard to improve the courses during this period. Conan didn't directly say that he was very familiar with Kyochi, let alone mentioning that her teacher was Jiraiya, for fear that his identity would affect the reputation of Kyochi and Jiraiya in Konoha. After saying this, she gradually calmed down. Just treat them as Li Xiao's gang of brats, it's no big deal. But what to teach? Conan was a little lost in thought. After pondering for a long time, the words of Kyochi emerged in his mind. After weighing it for a while, he sat down and said, I'm not much older than you. Let's just talk about it as friends. Okay, teacher, what is Rain Shinobi Village like? Is it beautiful? It's a country where it rains all the year round. Whether it's beautiful or not, it's definitely not as beautiful and spectacular as the leaves. Like our jonin from Rain Shinobi Village, it might not be as strong as your chunin. Conan said modestly, really? I don't believe it. The discordant voice appeared. Conan followed the sound. This sign. Uchiha's right? People in this family are really difficult to deal with. She chatted with those children before, but no one said such things. Conan slandered for a while, then maintained a smile on his face and said, there is indeed a gap between Shaochun and Daikon. Many things cannot be measured by the same standard. This is what Rain Shinobi Village needs to learn. Kyochi was in the office, observing with the telescope technique. He couldn't help shaking his head slightly. Conan is too soft. But it's hard to say at the moment. I hope I don't need to save the game myself. As for Obito, I am not surprised by what this guy can do. Like Naruto, he is a ninja full of surprises. He performed well in the Chunin exam this time. He has entered the 3rd round with Yamashiro Aoba and Lin. But he was still pulled over. The reason is very simple. This guy failed to check out the traps several times, and it was only when Aoba Yamashiro reminded him that he found out. And now, Conan was obviously self-effacing, but if this guy believed it, the result would be very miserable. Kyochi was wondering. I saw Obito stand up and said, teacher, I have something to do suddenly, can I ask for leave? No, Conan narrowed his eyes, his expression gradually becoming dangerous. Only. Obito apparently didn't notice. It's really something. His idea is, let Rain Shinobi teach, it's better to go to Kakashi, Guy, or train yourself. It's a waste of time to stay here and chat, but he has a brain after all. This cannot be said directly. Are you trying to skip class? No. Obito quickly retorted, then looked around carefully. Mr. Kyochi is probably not here, right? Don't worry, Kyochi is not here. Although I just became a jonin not long ago, and the jonin of Rain Shinobi Village is far behind Konoha, I still have the ability to teach you. Conan said with a smile, if you can escape from the classroom, I'll give you a leave slip, and you won't have to use it for this period of time. Real? Obito's eyes lit up. Conan smiled even wider. Sure enough. I wanted to skip class, brat, and I was hooked as soon as I caught it. She nodded. Really? You are the same. Okay. Everyone quickly got up and prepared to go out the window, but the next moment, they saw a pile of white paper flying out of Conan, and the whole classroom was instantly flooded with paper. Endless sheets of paper surrounded the entire classroom in an instant. In an instant, the whole classroom turned into a prison, and those who stood up just now were all blocked by paper chains, struggling in the air one by one. Shiki paper dance paper prison. Obito was still struggling, but in the next moment, papers flew around him, forming the shape of Conan. Look at your body, you dare to move so violently, little guy, I admire your courage and courage. What, I must be able to. Ah. Obito just wanted to say that he was not afraid and would definitely be able to break free and escape, but the next moment, he screamed in terror. A bunch of detonators. Wrong. This is an illusion, right? In his heart. Oh really? How do you know what I'm thinking? Hehe, as a Jonin, although you don't have the strength of Kyoshi Jonin and Minato Jonin of Konoha, you can't be too bad, and you still have some skills. Conan smiled. But in fact, Obito's thoughts are completely written on his face, so there is no need to guess. And Obito turned his head away, filled with grief and indignation. Hateful. Sooner or later. No, he must defeat this woman in the future. I didn't think of what to teach before, but now that I think about it, I can teach you some survival rules of ninjas in the little ninja village. Conan returned to the stage. At this moment, everyone was quiet, and everyone understood that this woman was not as kind as she appeared on the surface. To be precise, she could be very gentle, but she could also be very cruel. This is Jonin. Everyone became cute in an instant. The difference between Little Ninja Village and Big Ninja Village is that we have few people and can't afford to make mistakes, so the subordinates I have brought, I will tell them that every decision must be carefully thought out, because your decision may not only determine your own destiny and teammates. If you fail to escape, just hang up and listen to this class. Conan smiled like a flower, papers were flying, and a paper flower appeared in his hand. Good performance, this paper flower will be given to him. She's slowly getting into it. Teaching students is actually not that difficult. It's easier for Genin to teach, because they know what they want, and after realizing that she has enough teaching ability, everyone becomes more serious. Being gentle is not enough, Conan secretly remembered. Real knowledge comes from practice. She now agrees with Kyochi's words, and even more agrees with the talks of experience that Kyochi said before. But the next moment, Obito said abruptly, Mr. Conan, I seem to have seen you use this technique before, and said that you have nothing to do with Mr. Kyochi. This kind of secret technique. A piece of paper sealed his mouth. Conan glanced around and found that everyone was just curious and didn't have much other attitudes. He was relieved in his heart and said lightly, origami is my own creation, but Kyoshi Jonin has also researched it, that's all. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison. A big fist is justified, no one dares to refute, and the only one who dares to refute has now sealed his mouth. Okay. Let's continue talking. What did we say just now? Oh yes. Every decision must be carefully thought out, so speaking is the same. If you say the wrong thing, you will be punished, and if you make a wrong decision on the battlefield, you will die. The stronger you are, the more you need to understand this. Conan's words returned to the topic. Naturally, this is not the idea of Rain Shinobi Village, but a point of view that Conan summed up and taught his subordinates all the time. Be responsible to yourself and your teammates. In the office, Kyochi smiled, put away the crystal ball, and stretched. It seems. You can be lazy for a while, and then go to the research institute to see how the Orochimaru research is going. 2 days after the exam, he should continue to study, right? Grass escape has been successful, but to implement it, the threshold has to be further lowered. It's just that the Senju series can master it. This kind of threshold is still too high. Kyochi is also thinking about it, but there is no good result. In fact, he has a way. Cultivate Hashirama cells into a tree and channel wood-style energy from the tree. There are many advantages to this, and the downside. Hashirama cells are easy to steal, easy to flood and end up with dire consequences. Kyochi didn't dare to start with that. Master Kyochi, why are you here? Ninja school over there. Today someone will substitute for the class. In addition, after the Chunin exam is over, after the Hokage ceremony is over, the time for work and training will be separated, so that all Chunin under the age of 15 will be given training opportunities as much as possible. What? The cat-faced Anbu ninja was startled. Because Mukai is also under the age of 15. Anbu and the guards don't count, but you also need to focus on your anti-illusion training. You were practicing the sealing technique a while ago and I didn't urge you, so you can't let it go now. Yes. Bow to the well. He is indeed relatively weak against illusions. Although he has white eyes, he can only see the trajectory of other people's illusions and cannot help himself. Is there anything particularly urgent recently? Kyochi asked. Captain Shao said that he can handle most of them, that it's hard for him to make a decision on this one. You need to see it yourself. Mukai took one out of it. Kyochi opened his eyes, then frowned slightly. Kakashi. He applied for transfer to Anbu? What is this? Tsukiko knows that Namikaze Minato has a good relationship with Kyochi, and that the genius Kakashi wants to join Anbu. This kind of thing must be agreed by the captain and Hokage himself. On this scroll, there is the seal of third Hokage. But, based on Kyochi's understanding of the old man of third generation, that guy must want to persuade him, otherwise what would come would be a notice instead of an application. No wonder Moonlight Kazuki couldn't handle it. This has to be agreed. Sarutobi Hiruzen is probably more anxious. After pondering for a moment, Kyochi said, I'll deal with this matter later. What's going on at the research institute recently? The root people didn't intervene, right? No, we've been marked. Well done. If someone from root shows up, don't think too much about it, just grab it and hold it, and I'll go to Danzo to settle the score later. Yes. Now that the external affairs are settled, it is time to rectify the internal harmony issue. Danzo. For an old thing, it's fine if you don't have a handle. If you leave a handle, you can't blame him for being rude. Correct. Yukushi Nanoyu. Kyochi's eyes lit up. The matter of Do and Nanayu can be used for fishing. Gotta arrange it. The current Do is still young, and has not shown his ninja talent. The only ninjutsu knowledge he has been exposed to may be medical ninjutsu. But Nanayu is the one who has gone out of his roots. How to find a way to get Danzo to attack the retired members of Root again. Limited new member recruitment. Kyochi had an idea in his mind. Root's training was brutal. It was a real death training, cruel and merciless, completely obliterating humanity. Kyochi could hardly imagine third generation could not tolerate Orochimaru's actions, but could tolerate Danzo's actions. Simply astonished. But when Tsunade takes over, he will take control of Anbu himself, and everything will be done according to his own words. Mukai heard what Kyochi meant. But just as they didn't disclose the information about Kyochi's ice escape to third generation before, they naturally wouldn't report to third Hokage about Danzo. Anbu itself is a dark place. The ninjas here handle many tasks that cannot be seen, but Gen's behavior is even worse than Anbu, which many Anbu ninjas can't see. For example, Mukai. Seeing the root and third generation, he once felt that Konoha was rotten in his bones. It was not until Kyochi appeared that he regained hope in Konoha. Although the fourth generation is Tsunade, everyone in the know understands that Tsunade doesn't care about the position of Hokage at all, otherwise he wouldn't have to leave Konoha before. Both Tsukiko and Mukai believe that Kyochi can bring Konoha a better future. So, they choose to help Kyochi. After basically going through what happened to Anbu, Kyochi probably has an idea. When leaving Anbu, a prompt sound came from the system. Conan came to give feedback. Conan's trust in you has deepened, and he regards you as an educational mentor. Reward. Detonating talisman making changing. Kyochi thought it was a reward, but it turned out to be a detonator, and it seemed to be an improved version of Conan. That's interesting. In fact, many people can make detonators, but the process is very cumbersome, and the production threshold is relatively high. However, the demand for ninjas is huge, and it is impossible to make ends meet. This has led to high prices for detonators. Kyochi is determined to improve. In fact, in his people's livelihood plan, there is a column for improving the detonating talisman technology. If Conan's modified technology is good enough, he can use this technology as a basic extension research, or even use it directly. Kyochi took a look, almost sure. This is not something that Conan has mastered at this stage. In other words, the current Conan is only in the initial stage of improvement, and the reward is a very complete improved version of the detonator. But its threshold is not low at all, but very, very high, and it is not universal at all. The premise of improving the manufacture of detonators is origami. Only by mastering the secret technique of origami, can the pre-transformed paper be quickly transformed into detonating symbols through chakra. This transformation is very fast, almost comparable to the speed of ninjutsu transforming chakra. Certainly. The premise is that the paper has been transformed in advance. If it is ordinary paper, it cannot achieve such a fast conversion speed, but it is only a process of transforming paper. This should be the technique that Conan mastered later. That's how the 600 billion detonating symbols should have come from. Obediently. With such a good craftsmanship, you can make a lot of money if you sell it. But Kakuzu suffered a lot. He probably thought that the organization had no money. In fact, it was just because the rich woman was afraid of the boss behind the scenes. Made money. This technique is combined with the technique of tandem paper bombs to perform fixed-point continuous blasting more safely. Thinking of this, Kyochi breathed a sigh of relief. This wave is not bad. I didn't waste my time and effort teaching Conan. He didn't deal with Kakashi's matter right away. The research institute is more important now. The research institute is related to a big plan, and Kakashi is only at the tip of the horns. It's fine to deal with that kind of thing, or it's not good enough to keep getting stuck on the application form and not agreeing. Can he still force his way into Anbu? Kyochi came to the institute's secret base through Anbu's tunnel. This is the mountain behind Konoha. The research institute is inside the mountain. There is a field outside the mountain, which has been deserted in recent years, and it is inconvenient to farm on the mountain, so people are not willing to want these places, and the number of war populations has decreased, let alone farming. Now it's just a test field. Kyochi turned around and came across a man with a fancy haircut who was here mainly for him today. The wind sacrifices to the handsome tree. Master Kyochi. Just call me Kyochi, are you the only one here to take care of it now? Kyochi pointed to a large area up and down. Fengji Toshiki nodded helplessly. So far, he is the only one who has mastered wood style in the institute, and my wood style has spawned to a certain level. It can only be accelerated and it can no longer be significantly improved. These are the results of my current week. Kyochi looked around. The verdant rice seedlings seem to be at least 1 or 2 months old, but in fact, it only lasts for less than a week. It doesn't need to be too fast. Too fast is not good, and you can't produce qualified rice. Have you tried? Toshiki Kazeji knows that Kyochi is the first person to master wood style by himself, and it is said that his wood style already has a certain fighting ability. Just don't know the truth. I've tried it, and the rice produced in the end is either empty or not plump. More haste than waste. It's amazing. Fengji Junshu was a little envious. He heard Kyochi's subconscious meaning. He can quickly grow rice to maturity in a short period of time. But the rice grown like that turned out to be like that. Come on. Although this kind of wood style does not have the ability to fight, the effect is not limited to people's livelihood. Master Kyochi. Well, don't be kidding me. Fengji Junshu's eyes lit up, but quickly dimmed again. Although he was selected into the research institute and was able to learn wood style, to be honest, this wood style is more than a little bit different from what he imagined. As a Konoha shinobi, descendant of Senju, who wouldn't want to have real wood style? Unfortunately, it is difficult. But listening to Kyochi, it seems that even this level of wood style can fight. How can that be? The battle of ninjas is never just a direct confrontation. Green seedlings cannot fight, but at the same time, it is also the most inconspicuous thing in the forest and the wild. Kyochi said, brushing a finger over a sapling. Fengji Junshu was stunned for a moment. He has been taking care of this rice seedling, and he is very familiar with its condition. He can be sure that Kyochi didn't spawn, but in his perception, this seedling has undergone different changes. Now, it helps me sense my surroundings. Perception technique. Toshiki Kazatsuri was a little excited and understood what Kyochi meant. Some people will be wary of bugs and birds, but no one will be wary of an inconspicuous sapling or rice seedling, if they can be turned into their own eyes. Then the surroundings of the institute will be impenetrable. Don't tell anyone. Kyochi handed over a scroll, warned in a low voice, and headed into the lab. Yes. Fengji Junshu nodded heavily. This is the second monitoring. If it is known, the effect will be greatly reduced. This technique is transformed by Kyochi based on the fusion of wood style and Yuhu Zizai technique, and it needs to consume some chakra to maintain it, so he has written all the points that need attention in the scroll in detail. As a research institute, no matter how careful the layout is, it is necessary. Having done the first thing, Kyochi went to Orochimaru. But when he found Orochimaru, he found that Orochimaru was not researching, but resting on the rocky balcony of the research institute where he could bask in the sun. It's amazing, you're not studying. Is it because the Chunin exam is too tired? No, the relatively simple tasks are all shared by the avatar, and I only need to do it at critical moments and plan the research in my mind. Orochimaru smiled and couldn't help joking. Thinking is more important than boring work. I thought you would understand that. Your shadow clone will hate you. Ha ha. Orochimaru smiled and said nothing. This guy. There is really no self-consciousness of the pioneers. You actually have time to come to the research institute, and the art research has achieved results? A little bit. Kyochi nods. Orochimaru sat up instantly, still looking a little sluggish, but more energetic than before. After sitting upright, Kyochi couldn't help frowning as he looked at his face. In this way, I didn't know, but I thought it was Gaara. You are. Shadow clone is a small price, not worth mentioning. Let's talk about ninjutsu first. How do you plan to fix wood style? I can't do anything for the time being. I'll try one by one, but I can't solve the surgery, but I can solve the problem of chakra. Kiyoshi took out another ninjutsu scroll. Orochimaru hastily took it. Chakra delivery? He fell into deep thought. This is really a direction not considered at all. Although Junshu will be more tired, there is nothing to do. He is the only one who has mastered wood style, or is there a newcomer? Not yet. Orochimaru shook his head. Kiyoshi didn't tell him that Tsunade has already mastered the wood style of Toshiki Kazatsuri's level, but it's useless. Tsunade learned to rely entirely on his own pervert's chakra control ability. Others can't learn it. As for wood style work, you can't let Hokage do the farming, can you? That's outrageous too. After reading it, Orochimaru nodded after thinking for a while and said, it's feasible for the time being, but it won't work after the scale is expanded. It's definitely not enough to rely on one person alone. So you have to move. Donkeys in the production team dare not rest like you. Orochimaru glanced sideways. Lad. 2 years ago, you are dead now. But now. No way, can't beat it. He didn't bother to care about Kiyoshi, silently put away the scroll, and then said lightly. Is there anything else? Nothing else, don't disturb my thinking. Yes, any thoughts on Danzo? Orochimaru regained his spirits in an instant. Danzo. Saying this, I won't be sleepy anymore. Aren't you afraid that the old man will settle accounts with you? Orochimaru licked his lips, his voice a little hoarse. It's true that he and Danzo had a cooperative relationship before, but that guy often blamed him, and if there was a chance to kill him, he wouldn't mind helping him. It's not that far yet. Do you have a list of old members of the root organization? Part of it. Orochimaru thought for a moment, and made up part of Kiyoshi's plan in his head. Cut off the root of the blood. The root tissue was able to replenish human hands before, on the one hand because of the looseness of the woodleaf tubes, and secondly because they did have a place to replenish fresh blood. But now, the Yamanaka family and the Aburame family were transferred to the guard, and Anbu was controlled by Kiyoshi. In addition to the existing members, it is difficult for Danzo to recruit new people. But even if Danzo brings the old man back to the root, I am afraid it will be difficult to use this as an excuse to do something to the root, right? Orochimaru didn't quite understand Kiyoshi's thoughts, but he thought for a moment, and then he said a few names he knew. Among them was Yakushi Nanoyu. Yakushi Nanoyu. I remember she ran an orphanage, specially collecting orphans whose parents died in the war. Right. Orochimaru nodded slightly. He was quite impressed with no Nayu. After all, there are very few female ninjas who became root members, and no Naoyu is a very good spy ninja in the root organization. Danzo babbled a lot. Unfortunately, Nanoyu is a determined ninja. After deciding to quit, he had no idea of coming back, but Orochimaru thought about it, but suddenly felt that it was easy for a retired ninja like Nanoyu to go back. She has concerns. Orphanage. The more emotions you have, the easier it is to control. This is Danzo's philosophy. Therefore, every member of the root organization needs to sever humanity. On how to threaten people, Danzo is too skilled. You're going to use them to find Danzo's fault? It depends on whether he is fooled or not. As long as I cut off his source of newcomers, he will definitely have new moves, but if he keeps standing still, it will be troublesome. Kiyoshi memorized those names. Turn back and let Anbu fully monitor them. As long as Danzo has contact with them, sooner or later his flaws will be exposed. Especially orphanages. A group of war orphans, many of them were not originally Konoha. What a good goal. According to Orochimaru's calculations, Danzo might actually do it. He couldn't help licking his lips, and then said with a sneer, if you want to do something, you might as well call me. Anyway, my impression is already stinky now, so you might as well be more stinky with the old man. I don't mean that, don't think too much about it. Kiyoshi really didn't ask Orochimaru to take the blame. And Orochimaru doesn't think he's being blamed, does he? If the root can be monitored, there must be Anbu involved. It can only be Kiyoshi's game. Orochimaru's top will make others look down on Kiyoshi Kanda. Moreover, it's nothing to kill a Danzo. In the anime, Kiyoshi doesn't see where Danzo's credit is. His greatest contribution may be that he successfully forced Dan to the root Obito and Madara needed, and Nagato successfully turned into Pen. Kiyoshi had no intention of letting Orochimaru take the blame, and Orochimaru didn't force it. After all, he is not guilty of cheap. Within the root tissue, Danzo looked at several letters with a rather gloomy face. Kanda Kiyoshi. This guy did a great job. Tsunade hadn't taken over yet, and only temporarily controlled part of the power, so he directly used the guards to cut off the relationship between the Aburame clan and the roots. As for the Yamanaka clan, Although they did not participate in the guards, Yamanaka Hayi sent a personal letter. The meaning is not much different, probably indicating that they will no longer provide manpower to the root organization. Tsunade, Kanda Kyochi, there is no root. Konoha will soon be wiped out by other villages, you will regret it. He angrily smashed the letter to pieces, but the key point right now is that Kanda Kyochi has cut off the source of members of the root, and even some root members of the Aburame and Yamanaka clans have withdrawn from the root. There are not many of them. Today less than half of the root tissue remains. Master Danzo, what shall we do? HMPH, let's call back some scattered members who have withdrawn, especially those who are not in Konoha now. Let's lurk and develop slowly. Sooner or later, I will return. Danzo walked out of Root's base silently with his sword in his hand. He is going to the Shimura clan and talk to Shimura Shinping. Now that Gen is facing such a crisis, he may have to rely on the strength of the family if he wants to get through it. However, when Danzo returned to the Shimura clan, what he saw was Shimura Shinping with a dignified face, and several clan elders. Shinping. Danzo, as we said before, the Shimura family has no intention of getting involved in your affairs with the village. Secret support is already the limit, otherwise just give up. Even you think I'm wrong? Danzo's expression was indifferent. Shinping sighed, quite speechless. Danzo, it has nothing to do with right or wrong. If you really want to say it, whoever makes Konoha stronger is right. The grand way is always better than the dark way. The Shimura family doesn't want to take the path. I understand. Danzo closed his eyes and didn't speak anymore. He also didn't enter the Shimura family's place, but turned around and left silently without saying anything. The Shimura clan is also unreliable, also good. Just follow your own method. First bring back some of the retired ones, and secretly accumulate strength. Sooner or later, he will prove himself right. Danzo thought to himself. He went to the root, and he had already made a decision in his heart to stay dormant for the time being, and secretly search for new members to preserve his strength. Come back when the time is right, however. Danzo didn't know, his first move was wrong. Looking for an old member? After getting the list, Kyochi scattered people out immediately. He didn't need to stare at too many people. Mitsuno Naoyu's side is enough. The return of the old members will not kill Danzo, but the children are forced to join the root organization and participate in inhumane training. Then there is an argument. Old stuff. Can't handle Black Zetsu, can't handle you? Kyochi didn't take Danzo too seriously. The guy had been in the dark for a long time, and he didn't do things at all. He can only conspire and trick, and can't take on big responsibilities at all. Leaving from the graduate school, Kyochi went back to school. Conan is still in class. Kyochi took a look at the situation with the telescope technique, and then began to write about the future plans of the Chunin class. Chunin re-education must be arranged, but in terms of timing, it must be staggered with the task. After all, they are ninjas, and it is impossible to stay in the village every day. This is a great waste. Kyochi thought for a moment, then quickly started writing. Got an idea. Isn't it appropriate to change the systems of KPI and credits? The volume is over. This competition is healthy. The ninja profession is life-threatening. Learning one more ninjutsu and knowledge is beneficial and harmless to the ninja. Most ninjas will not refuse such an opportunity. Certainly. It can't be too rigid. Kyochi pondered over and over again, and eliminated a few more stringent ones, leaving only the annual training assessment and class hour requirements for ordinary ninjas under the age of 15. Others will be added later. A genius like Kakashi is not used to waste resources for the time being. Kakashi's question is still a bit painful. This kid thought about it, but in the end he wanted to understand that he was not suitable for team fighting, and wanted to change to Anbu to become a ninja. The issue is, Anbu also needs to cooperate. Is it possible that during the Chunin exam these days, Kakashi felt that he could do it again by arranging him and Anbu together? Kyochi pondered. Things came together, but fortunately, you don't have to worry about the Hokage ceremony. Those older generations are more anxious than each other, like Udatain Kaharu who has completely compromised. Keep it simple, but must have. It can't be like what Tsunade said, just post a notice and it's over. So informal. Kyochi agrees with this. If the name is not correct, the words will not ring true. There must be something that should be there. It turns out that Udatain Kaharu and Mitokado Homura are just pulling their hips on big things, and they are barely okay with small things, at least people are fine. Not like Danzo. In the past 2 days, Anbu has taken a series of measures, and Danzo will definitely make a move. The root organization is not like Akatsuki. Akatsuki is a bunch of rebels, everyone has no place to go, but most of the members of the root organization are born out of Konoha shinobi, so there is a lot of places to go after leaving the root organization. Why hang on Danzo? Members of the Aburame clan and the Yamanaka clan thought so, so after the patriarch talked to them, they quickly chose to quit the organization. Although Danzo still has many subordinates, all the real elites have returned to the families. Dormancy also has to develop. Otherwise, if you pretend to be a pig for a long time, you will really become a pig. Now the bureau has been laid out. Only one opportunity is missing. Leaving Konoha. Kyoshi didn't leave Konoha. Danzo didn't dare to make any movements at all. He had to make Danzo feel a little space to struggle before he could act. And this opportunity. Right on Konan. Kyoshi draws circles on the map. Rain Country, Bird Country, Northern River Country, Sanagakure. The 4 places are connected into one piece. When Conan's internship here is over, he just took the opportunity to leave Konoha together and wait for the fish to take the bait. Well planned. Now it's time for the Hokage ceremony. Noon. It was almost the end of school, and Kyoshi went to the classroom again. Conan was speechless. This guy, the card is really punctual, and I will come as soon as get out of class is over, as if I am afraid of missing something. But she has not been afraid at all since she started class. It seemed difficult to teach genin at first, but after experiencing it, I found that these genin are easy to guide provided that they can ask questions. It would be embarrassing if you couldn't answer. Fortunately, among this group of people, there was no one who made things difficult for Conan. Although Obito, the only one who was more difficult, was put down and sat in his seat to listen to the lecture, the seal on his mouth was still not lifted. Certainly, Conan wasn't vicious enough to use a detonator as a seal. But even so, when Obito came out, his legs were a little weak, and he wanted to run but didn't dare to run the first time after class. There was Conan in the classroom, and Kyoshi outside the classroom. He is terrified now. I'm afraid that after Kyoshi comes in, he will say, I say a few words. Haha. Getting along with everyone today is very pleasant. It's a pity that some students didn't ask questions. I hope I can have the opportunity next time. In addition, I will guide everyone to manipulate ninja equipment in the next class. If you are interested, you can think about questions in advance. Conan smiled, reached out and gave the flower to Obito. Obito froze for a moment, his face turned red instantly. Why? Of course, Conan means, if you're dumb, you're a pretty good ninja. Kyoshi came in just in time. In a word, Obito instantly languished. Conan shook his head and said, I met you in the green team. You are a very hard-working ninja. My teacher said that a truly powerful ninja is not because of talent, but because of patience and persistence. This sentence is for you. Ms. Conan. Thank you. Obito took the flowers, feeling excited and complicated. Although targeted at. But Conan finally encouraged him to persevere and recognized his efforts. In fact, Conan only came to Konoha for a day or two, which shows that Mr. Kyoshi is right. Everyone can see the efforts of each ninja. He kind of wants to cry. Come on. Alright, thank you everyone, get out of class is over. Kyoshi was not detained. Everyone is a ninja and will be responsible for their own future, so there is no need for him to nagging. After class, Conan pretended to be angry and said, Is it appropriate for you to bring me here, just leave me and run away? Cough. I have something to do temporarily, there is nothing I can do. Pooh. Conan didn't believe it. Something came out. Yesterday, I planned to bring her to the top class, and I planned it a day in advance. If it can be regarded as temporary, then it is really a ghost. What about fooling a fool? Kyoshi didn't explain. The more he explained at this time, the darker it became, and he did have a plan. If you were beaten, you must stand at attention. Fortunately, Conan didn't say much, he just complained a little and then stopped. Kyoshi didn't immediately mention going to Rain Shinobi village. It is better to discuss with Tsunade before making a decision. After all, after he leaves, the village and Danzo needs Tsunade to watch over him, and he also needs Minato's help. Without Minato's flying thunder god, it would be difficult for him to get back to Konoha quickly from Rain Shinobi village. The next day, Conan went to class as usual. Although she knew that Kyoshi was a bit of a fool, she did feel a certain amount of fun from teaching. Seeing the smiles of those children seemed to see the future. Unfortunately, this future is not Rain Shinobi villages, but Konoha's. These kids are strong. Genin from Rain Shinobi village is completely incomparable with them. Each of them has a solid foundation, and Obito is still the top student in this group of people in terms of taijutsu and ninjutsu. Certainly, she knew very well that this group of students had been screened themselves. There is basically no reason for a steady promotion to Chunin. All that remained were genin or bastards, Konoha's true elite she hadn't seen yet. To be frank, it would be a lie to say she wasn't curious, but she didn't come here to gather information. Secondly, how strong Konoha is has nothing to do with Rain Shinobi village. With Konoha's current strength, Defeating Rain Shinobi Village is easy and enjoyable. The two are not shinobi villages of the same magnitude at all. Even she suspects that the alliance formed by the shinobi villages is not Konoha's opponent. Even with Sanagakure, Konoha is too strong. The more you know, the more you fear. There is also a gap in Darren village. And the other side. Kyochi discusses fishing with Tsunade. Tsunade didn't quite agree at first, but unable to stand up to Kyochi's repeated admonitions, she had no choice but to agree, and after finishing the business, Kyochi sat down and looked outside. The Hokage building is fully furnished, it's just short of time. Tomorrow is Hokage changing. Yeah, according to me, just go up and say something. If you want to fix those things, you say, with my appeal, wouldn't it be a crowd of cheers to stand over there? Tsunade patted his chest, confident. Kyochi's eyelids twitched. Don't take pictures, this scene is too shocking. Actually, it's not difficult. Just say a few words of encouragement. By the way, you are studying psychological medicine, haven't you tried to enlighten Kakashi? Why does he still want to join Anbu? Forget it, kid. Tsunade sat on the seat, pondered for a long time, and said in a heavy tone, I can only say that medicine is not a panacea. Of course, it may be that the panacea medicine has not been discovered by me. Looks like I'm the only one to do it. Later, I'll take him, Shisui, and Kuroyuki and go for a walk in Rain Shinobi Village. Bring Shisui. Tsunade frowned. 6-year-old Sharingan, such a talent is really scary, she is a little worried. Don't worry, there's basically no problem with me. And staying in the village is the most dangerous. Kyochi added in his mind. Tsunade thought about it, and it was also true. Kyochi could face 3rd Raikage and 3rd Tsuchikage head-on, and Hanzo couldn't kill him. Because the fields that Hanzo is good at highly overlap with Kyochi. Water style, poison, swordsmanship. These are what Kyochi is good at. The only thing that might be tricky is the salamander, but Kyochi is fast. So, after thinking about it, she agreed and added a sentence. If you have a chance to beat Hanzo for me, you beat us back then, and forcibly gave him the title of Sanin. Damn it, if I couldn't beat him at that time, I would have gone up and beat him up. Tsunade recalled being annoyed. In the eyes of outsiders, Sanin's title may be honor and legend, but in her eyes, it is not even as close as the legendary Big Fat Sheep. After all, Big Sheep is the name she got out of gambling. If there is a chance, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Kyochi smiled. He didn't know about Hanzo at his peak, but he's really not afraid of Hanzo now. It's all the same, and the only thing he hates is poisonous gas. After all, if there is poisonous gas, the 7-day exhalation cannot be used. By the way, when I met Jiraiya, I brought a message for me. Our Konoha has managed to get a better reputation. Let him not ruin the reputation of Sanin and Konoha outside. Tsunade doesn't think that with Kyochi's level of vigilance, he still doesn't know about Jiraiya's hobby, so he doesn't hide it. And Kyochi was thinking. It is estimated that it is impossible to touch it now. Jiraiya is not a peaceful master, and he finally left Konoha. With his character, how could he not go to Tango Country? That's a hot spring resort. Tsunade obviously knew it too, so it was just a casual remark. After all, she was flying like waves outside, gambling and avoiding debts, but she never thought of Konoha's reputation. Sanin is a virtue. In Konoha, he was still a little scrupulous, but when he went outside, he changed his appearance completely. Kakashi's problem, of course, is not a unilateral headache in the village, but even more troublesome is his teacher. Namikaze Minato. Minato has been busy lately. In the original trajectory, he was still running around in the battlefield at the moment, working as a firefighter, but now that the war ended early, it is reasonable to say that he should be free. This is not the case. The Chunin exam needs him to put out the fire. After the Chunin exam is over, he is needed for various tasks. Compare. Kakashi is more relaxed. Recently, there have been no tasks suitable for the team to travel, so Obito and Lin have been studying in the village, and Kakashi has no idea what to do, and is in a confused period of life. When people are confused, they have more ideas. For example, join Anbu. Kyochi came out of the Hokage building and saw an unusual person. Kushina. Kyochi. I probably know your reason for coming. Although it's a bit strange, I'm curious. Why do you all think it's useful to find me? Kyochi was helpless. The matter of Kakashi, to say the least, is just a genius. Where is he not a genius? Moreover, it's not that he didn't think about it, but he couldn't find a solution after thinking about it, so he simply took the lone wolf route. It's purely a problem of thinking. Kushina has always spoken straightforwardly, but Kyochi came up with a sentence and directly punished her. Really? Why is there a kind of the feeling that Kyochi can do anything? She was lost in thought. When she came back to her senses, there was Kyochi in front of her eyes. Kushina frowned. Her blood pressure went up immediately. She rolled up her sleeves and planned to go to Kyochi's house in the afternoon to discuss with Tsunade how to use strange power. But after thinking about it, she felt that Tsunade was upstairs, so she could go upstairs and discuss it first. Kyochi, who was in the dark on the side, watched her enter the building and couldn't help sighing. Not that I hate Kushina, but her character is really a bit big. Helping Kakashi is not something that can be explained clearly in a few words. Explaining and explaining is a waste of time in the end. It is better not to explain. Let Tsunade arrange it, she and Kushina are more compatible anyway. Kyochi shrugged and took out his sword, which he hadn't used in a while. It's time to unsheath, outside the village. Kakashi is still practicing his swordsmanship. He has found the direction of ninja swordsmanship, and now he is slowly correcting his previous swordsmanship path. However, he always felt something was wrong. Young man, do you know that your sword is wrong? Why? No, who are you? Kakashi answered instinctively, but soon became vigilant and looked at the man coming out of the woods in front of him. The man was dressed strangely. Dressed as a samurai, he looks like he is not Konoha, but more like a samurai from the Iron Kingdom. I heard that none of the samurai there learn ninjutsu. But why did the samurai appear in Konoha? He began to daydream in his mind, guessing who might be in disguise, but he couldn't detect any signs of transformation technique on the other party's body. Kakashi raised his guard. No matter what, the man in front of him was stronger than him. Your sword is too slow. What? Kakashi frowned. His physical skills are very strong among his peers. Even at the Chunin level, few people can match him, and the speed of swinging a knife has been practiced all the time. This is still slow? Then don't accept it. Hee, come on, you attack me. This side is not close to Konoha. If you get hit by my sword, it may be too late to heal. Kakashi kindly reminded. But the opponent just shook his head, signaling him to attack. Then he is welcome too. Transforming into a samurai is just Kyochi's whim. Teach Kakashi a lesson. He doesn't intend to use ninjutsu, but simply educate him with sword skills. Wake him up. A man's preaching doesn't need too many ink-blotted words at all. Kyochi drew a knife. It was a very ordinary knife, a knife that belonged to his father before, and it was a little rusty after not being used for a long time, but it didn't affect much, as long as it could be used. I'm out of the knife. Your people are like knives, grinding and hawing. They are not crisp at all. They look powerful but are actually very fragile. Kakashi's anger exploded. This guy. Then call you. He drew the saber, and suddenly leaned forward. The blade flashed with lightning, and his figure was as fast as a gust of wind. This is a knife, Kakashi figured out. Kyochi almost laughed out loud. Sword drawing. He is too familiar with this thing, not only has a high level of proficiency in mastering it, but also clearly knows its flaws. High speed. But same as Kakashi with Chidori. So fast. Can you handle it? He just stepped sideways lightly, and the back knife was not out of its sheath. With a light hit of Kakashi's knife, his path was skewed, and it floated past him. Kakashi took a deep breath, not discouraged, and turned around to strike again. However, this time his knife was hit directly, and the deviation was even more outrageous. Kakashi was taken aback. Can your knife go any faster? Come again. Kakashi refuses to accept, picks it up and kills him again. This time it was faster. Lightning-style chakra stimulates activity. Kyochi closed his eyes. This kind of speed is hard to see with the eyes alone, you need to grasp it with feeling and speed. Coincidentally, he is an expert in this area. Snap. With a sound, Kyochi's knife with its sheath hit the back of Kakashi's hand. Kakashi fell silent. A knife is the same as a person. Your knife is like this. It can be seen that you are similar. It looks powerful, but the essence of a knife is fragile. Any knife technique will become cowardly in your hands. Kyochi said lightly, otherwise, you should stop practicing knives. I remember that you ninjas have a kind of ninjutsu? Kakashi ignored the other party's ridicule, only full of doubts in his heart. Why? Obviously there should be no problem, but in the end I couldn't even touch it. The key is. The opponent's speed is not fast, very slow. He is so slow that he is faster than the opponent without the body flicker technique and lightning-style chakra stimulation, but the opponent can hit him. If the samurai wants to kill him, he is now a corpse. He already had a figure in his mind. Kakashi did not express his conjecture. The person in front of him was not hostile to him, and there was something in his words, so the point was not the identity of the other party, but what he meant by what he said. I'm vulnerable? Have you ever eaten carrots? Eat. Kakashi nods. The radish looks hard, but it will become very soft and rotten after being cooked. Some people can't tell whether it is fragile or not, but it can be seen at critical moments. Kakashi's blood pressure went up a bit. The other party didn't mention his name, but he always felt that every word was talking about his pain, which made him very upset, and he wanted to kill him with a knife. Have you ever eaten eggs? Eat. Kakashi gritted his teeth. He knows that the following is not a good word, but surprisingly curious to know. Uncooked eggs are very fragile and can be broken casually, but they are much harder than the original after being cooked. Maybe the radish is not as hard as it is boiled, and when it is broken, it is more smelly and destructive than the radish. Kyoshi continued. Kakashi was speechless. The radish presumably hints at his father, but the egg. Who is this teacher? Impossible. How could Namikaze Minato be egg? What was related to him originally seemed fragile. Obito? Kakashi's blood pressure continued to rise. He was speechless to say that Shuo Mao was weak. After all, his father did commit suicide, but he was not as good as Obito. Whom to insult? Don't you believe it? That's right. Who would believe that a person who is usually inferior to himself can explode with strength stronger than himself at a critical moment? Your egg is your teammate, right? Kakashi was silent and nodded. Kyoshi smiled. It seems that you lack understanding of your teammates. You don't even know what kind of people your teammates are. What a failure. When I was a samurai, I would have a comprehensive understanding of everyone standing behind me. Kyoshi continued to taunt. When it comes to dealing with Kakashi, you can't be used to it. He didn't have time to talk to him before, and now I just have a detailed discussion with him. What is trash? Where are the radishes? Ask knowingly. Kakashi slandered, and then uttered a sentence with difficulty. My father. It sounds like you have a lot of hatred for him. Are you interested in talking about it in detail? What does he look like in your eyes? Kyoshi said. He's weak and unfit to be a ninja. Do not know why. In front of the stranger, Kakashi couldn't help expressing his thoughts, and explained Tsukumo's image and situation in his heart. After listening, Kyoshi stroked the scabbard with his fingers. No surprise. In Kakashi's eyes, Tsukumo committed suicide because of weakness, so the evaluation is radish. He stops. You may have misunderstood. The carrot I mentioned was actually you. Your father is a great ninja. He chose to save his teammates, and he also paid for his mistakes. He died because of rumors, but I don't think the rumors themselves can defeat a samurai like him. Kyoshi said. Kakashi raised his eyebrows and said dissatisfied. Why? He saved his teammates because his philosophy made him choose to do so, but also because of his choice, it caused incalculable consequences, causing many people to lose their partners. Kyoshi paused when he said this. People always have to pay for their own choices. There may be many reasons for your father's death, but the biggest reason is himself. If Shuo Mao doesn't want to die, no one can force him to die. When he said this, he suddenly sighed and said, the real lament is that good people will pay for their choices, but bad people will not. If your father is independent enough, he will not die. Like Danzo. Kyoshi added in his mind. Whether directly or indirectly, the number of people who died in the hands of Danzo is definitely much more than the number of ninjas that Tsukumo died in a mission mistake, not to mention that Tsukumo performed many S-level missions and saved many ninjas. Good people deserve to be pointed at guns. He does not approve. So, Kyoshi is going to kill Danzo. Okay, ninja, think about it for yourself, I'm leaving. You. Kakashi wanted to ask Kyoshi directly, isn't your home in Konoha? What are you putting here? But, thinking about his state of mind just now, and what he said to Tsunade, he remained silent. Although I know that the other person is Kyoshi Kanda, the different appearance does bring a different feeling. If it was Kyoshi, he might not say so much. It's just weird. Kakashi fell silent, and after a while, he asked, can I ask a few more questions? Say. Kyoshi sat down again. It's a good thing to be willing to communicate. He hates bad autistic monsters the most. The previous Kakashi was this type. Have to say. The idea of putting on a coat by yourself is absolutely amazing. For a weird person like Kakashi, it may be more contradictory to go out on his own. It's the rebellious period. Kakashi was silent for a long time, and then said, I have a friend. He has had no friends since he became a ninja, and he seems to be unable to cooperate with everyone. Wouldn't it be better for everyone to leave? The friend you mentioned is yourself, right? See through but not tell. Didn't I also expose you as Kanda Kyoshi? Kakashi wanted to turn the table a little bit, but thinking of the opponent's ability to easily defeat him, he silently nodded and didn't speak. Endure it. Since you know that the problem lies with yourself, why don't you try to change, but want to escape? Kyoshi felt that Kakashi's thoughts were confusing. Actually, Kakashi in the original trajectory, he also has a lot of opinions. It's fine if others treat Naruto badly. As a disciple of Namikaze Minato, Kakashi has never thought of taking care of him. Just because of what third generation said to Danzo. So raising a child, I am really not afraid that Naruto will turn dark and become Uzumaki's face numb, and I have always lacked guidance for Naruto. Certainly. It can only be said that the team brought out by third generation has problems. From top to bottom, the brain is not working well, and all of them are mentally disturbed to some extent. Kakashi was lost in thought. He didn't know how to refute for a while. If you don't face it, then you will always be a deserter, and your father, at least he has faced his own choice, so I say the carrot is you, not your father. Kyochi said. Kakashi's heart knot is Hitaki Tsukumo, heart disease needs heart medicine. Kakashi has been very resistant to talking about Tsukumo before, but today there is no such fierce resistance. So, the topic can only go so far, otherwise. When Kakashi arrives in Anbu, he will know what it's like to be a lone wolf. Thank you, I understand. Is there any chance to chat with you in the future? That's not easy. Kyochi got up. Psychology, he is not professional either. A few words of nonsense are okay. Say more. It's unlikely to reveal the truth, but it is true that it takes brains and effort. And do everything by yourself, so you won't be exhausted? By the way, let me say one last thing. I agree that your father is a great ninja, but I don't approve of his behavior. Suicide atonement is also an escape in a sense. After Kyochi finished speaking, he waved his sword and left, playing the role of a wandering samurai. Although he couldn't hide it from Kakashi, with this layer of skin, the two sides could communicate happily. After changing his real body, Kakashi may not be used to it yet. Back to Konoha. Kakashi was momentarily at a loss. Tsukumo is a great ninja. This was an answer he hadn't thought of, and Kyochi had mentioned it before, but he always felt that the guy didn't have a good word, and it wasn't until today that he listened patiently to the reason. Result. Kyochi's words successfully convinced him. Yes. He has always been very clear that Hitaki Tsukumo's will is not weak, so it is strange why he committed suicide, but now Kakashi can understand a little bit. Cherishing the belief of his companions made Hitaki choose to save his companions. The suicide was due to the failure of the mission, which led to the sacrifice of more companions. Choose. Kakashi was muttering in his heart. He was walking on the road and met Might Guy, who was leading the running team. Guy is no longer what he used to be. The Might Guy in the past chased after Kakashi and asked for a challenge, but now he has a bunch of ninjas behind him, and a group of people are moving around the village, which is comparable to performance art. It hurts my eyes. But the only thing that remains the same is that he still greets Kakashi when he sees him. Hey, Kakashi, let's have a bloody competition. Run 300 laps around the village. Whoever comes first wins. How about the loser running 200 laps upside down? Sorry, I'm not interested today. Kakashi squinted. With a glance, I saw a familiar but unfamiliar figure. Egg. I haven't paid attention to it for a few days. How can I put on this green dress with peace of mind? Aren't you afraid that Uchiha will ask you for a meeting? Kakashi looked shocked. Kakashi, sooner or later, I will defeat you. Obito yelled. He doesn't feel ashamed at all, because as long as he works hard and persists, he can become a powerful ninja. This is what Mr. Conan's teacher said. Ah, come on. Kakashi left with blank eyes, took 2 steps, and suddenly glanced back at Obito. Kyochi's words flashed in his mind. People who seem weak at ordinary times may become stronger at critical moments. And some people. He didn't ask Obito about companion selection. No point. Kuhei, he will also. Only when we really meet each other can we understand who is the egg and who is the carrot. But one thing is certain now. He came to the Hokage building, bowed deeply to Tsunade and said, Master Tsunade, I am very sorry to cause you trouble. I want to think about the application to enter Anbu again. Don't think about it. In fact, Kyochi didn't pass at all. By the way, there is a task that needs you to go with me in a few days, and I will explain it to you in detail then. Ah. Yes. Kakashi froze for a moment, took back his application form, and suddenly realized. Really? If the application is approved, Mr. Kyochi will stop talking nonsense. The matter of Kakashi is temporarily over. Withdraw the application, at least in the near future. Kushina and the others will not bother themselves. Kyochi is in Anbu, watching the feedback sent back for 4 weeks. Danzo really took action. How many people are there in the root organization? Captain, it belongs to our Anbu team. It is reasonable to say that there are 17 people, but Danzo's subordinates must be far more than that. Even if the Aburame and Yamanaka clans withdraw their members now, the number is still exceeding the standard. Moonlight Kazuki said. Don't do it yet, just for these reasons, there is no way to kill the root tissue. Kyochi tosses the information aside. Just recalling some of the old members of the root will at most make Danzo dormant for a period of time, and it will be more troublesome to kill Danzo later. This guy. Once the shot is made, it will have to kill him, and it will be the kind that Utatane Kaharu, 3rd generation, and Mitokado Homura can't intercede. Kyochi already has a draft. One is Yakushi Kabuto and the other is Yamato. Orochimaru is now being pushed to the end, and his power is basically gone. Even in the research institute, Mitokado Homura is watching this as the price paid for his research. And Danzo. As sponsors and actual beneficiaries, they should be punished even more. Tomorrow's succession ceremony, we must ensure safety, and Anbu from other surrounding villages should be cleaned up. Uchiha over there. No need to monitor, leave everything empty. Yes. Moonlight Kazuki scratched his head, but nodded in response. All is ready except for the opportunity. Kyochi narrowed his eyes. Danzo, Black Zetsu, Madara, let's jump out together, clean up before we can develop outside. Especially Madara. It would be great if Uchiha Madara could reveal some clues that would lead him to track him to the lair, although the possibility of this is extremely low. But no matter how bad it is, Uchiha's problem can be solved. Kyochi wondered. Go home. Conan no longer had the initial excitement. The previous worship had disappeared without a trace in just 2 or 3 days. The image of Tsunade at home really makes people feel no admiration, but makes people feel complicated. The first female ninja, the first medical ninja. Result. Such is the virtue. The sense of image disintegration made her really lose interest. But seeing Tsunade on stage wearing a Hokage cape, she still has a kind of. What a handsome female ninja. Love, love, love. As expected of Tsunade princess. Hee, haven't you been in a lack of interest before? Because I brought you into the abyss from the beginning, so what you learned about Tsunade is only one-sided. Kyochi smiled. Conan thought for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Really? It's all Kyochi's fault. Oh, and Shizune. I appreciate it so much, I will compete with Yahiko for the post when I go back. No, I just admire their heroic looks, but I will never be them, and helping Yahiko is my dream since I was a child. Conan smiled sweetly, didn't talk to Kyochi anymore, but looked up intently. After the war, I lost my goal and wandered in the ninja world. During this period, I saw a lot of death and turmoil. Tsunade walked to the front of the stage, and no one spoke in silence. She turned to look at Hokage Rock, subsequently. Now I'm back. For those who can't come back, they died in the war but their will is still there. I will take their will and take the village down. After that, she turned to face everyone. He took off his hood, a smile appeared on his face, and his blonde hair fluttered in the wind. Starting today, I will govern Konoha village. I am the 4th Hokage. There was a burst of cheers from below. Conan could not help but fall into nostalgia as he listened. For those who don't come back. You wrote the lines, right? Tsunade-sama, I don't think she can say that kind of thing. Maybe she wrote the last line herself. Conan smiled when he finished speaking. That's very well said, thank you. Why thank me? There are many people in Rain Shinobi village who want to change. Bad spirits must be banned, but goodwill and spirit must be carried forward, so that they will not die in vain. Conan closed his eyes as he said. Many ninjas from Rain Shinobi village seem to flash before my eyes. But unfortunately, at this moment, a burst of cheers interrupted her thinking. Don't think too much about it at a time like this.